Long ago, in an era shrouded by mystery, a formidable figure descended from the heavens, mercilessly taking my beloved's life. Beside him, now, I tread upon a majestic mountain, suspended high above our realm. Delicate snowflakes drift gracefully from the heavens. Battlements of white stone and shimmering glass yawn. Out of the rock, around us swirls a chaos of greed. All the great goals of Mars descend upon the Institute to lay claim to the best and brightest of our year. Their formidable fleets dominate the morning skyline, casting imposing shadows, cutting over a world of snow and smoking castles for Olympus, which I stormed only hours before. Take a last look, he tells me as we near his shuttle. Everything that transpired before was merely an echo of the grandeur that lies ahead. When you leave this mountain, all bonds are broken, all oaths dust. You believe you are ready, but the truth is no one ever truly is. Across the crowd, I see Cassius with his father and siblings as they make their way to their shuttle. Their piercing gazes blaze like embers through the frost-laden expanse, and I remember the sound of his brother's heart as it beat its last. A rough hand with bony fingers lays claim to my shoulder, clutching possessively. The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, stares at his enemies. Bolognas do not forgive or forget. They are many, but they cannot harm you. His cold eyes peer down at me, his fresh prize. For you belong to me, Darrow, and I protect what is mine. As do I. For 700 years my people have been enslaved. Without voice, without hope, now I am their sword. And I do not forgive, I do not forget. So let him lead me onto his shuttle. Let him think he owns me. Let him welcome me into his house, so I might burn it down. But then his daughter takes my hand, and I feel all the lies fall heavy on my shoulders. They say a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. They made no mention of the heart. Part 1. Bow, hic sunt leones, here be lions. Nero the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. Chapter 1. Warlords, my silence thunders. I stand on the bridge of my starship. I am broken and held in a gel. Cast iron burns still roar on my neck. I'm bloody damn tired. My razor coils around my good right arm like a cold metal snake. Before me space opens vast and terrible. Small fragments of light prick the darkness, and primordial shadows move to block those stars. On the fringes of my vision, asteroids, they float slowly around my man of war quietus. As I search the blackness for my quarry, win. My master told me win as my children cannot. And you will bring honor to the name the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. Win at the academy and you earn yourself a fleet. He likes dramatic repetition. It suits most statesmen, he'd have me win for him. But I'd win for the red girl, with a dream bigger than she ever could be. I'd win so that he dies, and her message burns across the ages. Small order. I'm 20, tall and broad in the shoulders, my uniform all sable now wrinkled, hair long and eyes golden bloodshot. Mustang once said I have a sharp face, with cheeks and nose seemingly carved from angry marble. I avoid mirrors myself, better to forget the mask I wear, the mask that bears the angled scar of the golds who rule the worlds from Mercury to Pluto. I am of the peerless scarred, cruelest and brightest of all humankind. But I miss the kindest of them, the one who asked me to stay. As I bid her and Mars goodbye on her balcony, almost a year ago, Mustang, I gave her a horse. Crested gold ring as a parting gift, and she gave me a razor fitting. The taste of her tears grows stale in my memory. I've not heard from her since I left Mars. Worse, I've not heard from the sons of Ares since I won Mars's Institute more than 2 years ago. Dancer said he would contact me once I graduated, but I've been cast adrift among a sea of golden phases. This is so far from the future I imagined for myself as a boy, so far from the future I wanted to make for my people when I let the suns carve me. I thought I would change the world, but young fool doesn't. Instead, I've been swallowed by the machine of this vast empire. As it rumbles inexorably on, at the Institute they trained us to survive and conquer. Here at the Academy they taught us war. Now they test our fluency. I lead a fleet of warships against other golds. We fight with dominations and launch raiding parties, from ship to ship, in the way of gold astral combat. No reason to break a ship that costs the gross yearly output of 20 cities, when you can send leechcraft packed with obsidians, golds and grays, to seize her vital organs and make her your prize. I made lessons of astral combat. Our teachers hammered in the maxims of their race. Only the strong survive, only the brilliant rule. And then they left and let us fend for ourselves, jumping asteroid to asteroid, searching for supplies bases, hunting our fellow students to longly to fleets remain. I'm still playing games, this is just the deadliest yet. It's a trap, Rogue says from my elbow. His hair is long like mine, and his face soft as a woman's and placid as a philosopher's. Killing in space is different from killing on land. Broke as a prodigy added as poetry to it. He says poetry to the motion of the spheres and the ships that sail. Between, his face fits with the blues who crew these vessels. Airy men and women who drift like wayward spirits through the metal halls. All logic and strict order, but it's not so elegant a trap as Canis might think. He continues he knows where, eager to end the game so he will wait on the other side. Force us into a choke point and release his missiles, tried and true since the dawn of time. Rogue carefully points to the space between two huge asteroids, a narrow corridor we must travel. If we wish to continue following Canis's wounded ship, everything's a damn trap, Cactus our wrath. Ranging and careless yawns, he leans his dangerous frame against the viewport and shoots a stem up his nose from the ring on his finger. He tosses the spent cartridge to the floor. Connors knows he's lost, he's just torturing us, leading us on a little merry chase so we can't sleep, the selfish prick. You're such a little pixie, always yapping and whining. Victor O. Julie sneers from her place against the viewport. Her jagged hair hangs just past ears pierced with jade. Impetuous and cruel, but neither to a fault. She disdains makeup in favor of the scars she's earned through her 27 years. There are many, her eyes are heavy, deeply set. Her censure mouth wide, with lips shaped to purr insults. She looks more like her famous mother than her younger half-sister Antonia, but in her capacity for general mayhem, she far as strips both, traps me nothing she declares. His fleet has been dashed, he has but one ship, we're 7. How about we just bust his mouth? Darrow has 7, Roque reminds her. Your pardon, she asks, annoyed at the correction. 7 of Darrow's ships remain. You call them ours, they are not ours. He is Primus, the Danzig poet strikes again. The point is the same. My Goodman, that we should be rash instead of prudent. Rogue asks that it is 7 against 1. It would be embarrassing to let this drag out any longer, so let's squish the balloon. A thug like a cockroach with a sizable boot. Fly back to base. Take our just rewards from old the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, and go play. She twists a heel for emphasis. Hear, hear. Tactic agrees, my kingdom for a gram of demon dust. That's your 5th system shot today. Cactus Broke asks, yes, thank you for noticing, mommy dearest. But I grow weary of this military crank. I believe I desire pearl clubs and copious amounts of respectable drugs. You're going to burn out. Cactus slaps his thigh live fast. Die young while you're a boring old raisin. I'll be a glorious memory of finer times and decadent days. Rogue shakes his head. One day, my wayward friend, you're going to find someone you love, who makes you laugh at the silly person you once were. You have children, you have an estate, and somehow you learn there are more important things than drugs. And Pink's buy-shelf tactic stares at him in utter horror. That sounds resolutely miserable. I peer at the tactical display, ignoring their banter. The quarry we chase is Carnis al Bologna. the older brother of my former friend Cassius Albolona, and the boy I killed in the passage, Julian. Albolona, oh, that curly-haired family. Cassius is the favorite son. Julian was the kindest and kindness. My broken arm stands testament. He's the monster. They let out of their basement to kill things. Since the Institute, my celebrity has grown. So when the news reached the Violet Gossip Circuit that the Arch-Governor was finally sending me to further my studies, Carnes Albolona and a few hand-picked cousins were dispatched by Cassie's mother to study. As well, the family wants my heart on a plate. Quite literally, only the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating's badge holds them back. To attack me is to attack him. In the end, I could give a bloody piss about their vendetta, or my master's blood feud with their house. I want the fleet so I can use it for the sons of Ares. What a mess I could cause. I've made a study of supply lines, sensor stations, battle groups, data, hubs, all the pressure points that might cause the society to stagger. Darrow Brook comes closer. Guard your hubris, remember Pax pride kills. I want it to be a trap, I tell Rogue. Let Carnes turn and face us. It tilts his head. You've set your own trap for him. Now what makes you say that? You might have told us I could have Carnest false today. Brother, that is the simple fact of the matter. Of course, I only want to help you know that I know. I stifle yawn and let my eyes sweep the bridge pits. Behind and below me, blues of many shades toil there. Working the systems that run my ship, they speak more slowly than any other color. Save obsidian favoring digital communication. They are older than I graduates of the Midnight School or beyond them near the back of the bridge, gray marines and several obsidians down sentinel. A clap broke on the shoulder. It's time, sailors, I call to the blues in the pit, sharpen your wits. This is the final nail in the Bologna coffin. We put this bastard into the ether. And I promise the greatest gift in my power to give, a week of solid sleep prime. A few of the grays near the back of the bridge laugh. The blues just wrap their knuckles on their instruments. But give half my substantial bank account, compliments of the Arch-Governor. To see one of those pale air brains crack a smile, enough. Delay announce gunners to positions. Rogue cluster the destroyers Victor attend. Targeting tactics defense deployment. We're ending this now. I look over at my wispy helm blue. He stands central in the pit. Beneath my command platform, amid 50 others. The snaking digitats that mark the blues. Bald heads and spidery hands glow subtle shades of cerulean and silver. As they sync with the ship's computers, their eyes go distant as optic nerves revert to the digital world. They speak only out of courtesy to us. Helmsman engines to 60% I dominoes. He glances at the tactical display. A globular hollow floating above his head, voice like a machine mind. The concentration of metal in the asteroids presents difficulty in assessing spectra readings where I might blind. A fleet could hide on the other side of the asteroids. He doesn't have a fleet into the breach. I say the ship's engines. Rumble. I nod to Roke and say Hecka Street. Lee owns the words of our master near are the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating Arch, governor of Mars 13th of his name. My warlords echo the phrase, here be lions. Chapter 2, The Breach, on the tactical readout. The 6 nimble destroyers move around. My remaining man of war, eerie silence from the blue crew. As the functions of war take over, on the plane through which their minds now drift, words are slower than icebergs. My lieutenants monitor my fleet. At any other time, they'd be on their personal destroyers or leading men in leechcraft. But at the moment of victory, I want my fellows near. Yet even when my lieutenants stand here at my side, I feel that separation, that deep gulf between their world and mine. Missile signatures says the Can Blue. The bridge does not burst into action. No warning lights panic the crew, no shouts break the stillness. Blues are icy specimens raised from birth and communal. Sex that teach them to embrace logic and enact their function with cold efficiency. It's often said there are more computers than men. The dark space beyond my viewport blooms fresh, with a thick veil of micro-explosions. Our flak bursts in a great screen of dull white clouds. Incoming missiles explode as the flak bursts. Detonate the missile's payloads prematurely. One gets through and the destroyer on our far wing. Ripples from the simulated nuclear blast. Men would pour from her, gases would seep out. Explosions might puncture holes in the metal hull and bring burning oxygen, rupturing forth like blood from a whale, only to be swallowed in a blink by the black. But this is a war game, and they do not give us real nukes. The deadliest weapons here are the students. Another ship falls victim, as railgun. Salvos rip through the flak. Taro, Victor worries. I stand absently, thumbing the Placios ring once graced. Nick returns to me. Taro. He's chewing us to pieces if you haven't noticed. Lady has a point. Reap cactus echoes, face glowing blue from the tactical display. Whatever you have in store, don't be shy about it. Calms, tell Ripper and tell him squadrons to engage the enemy. I watch the tactical display as the squadrons I dispatch to half hour prior sweep around either side of the asteroids and descend on Carnassus' flank. From this distance, they're impossible to see with the naked eye, but they pulse gold on the display. Congratulations, my friend. Broke whispers before it is even done. There's a strange reverence in his voice. Any earlier frustration now gone. With this, everything will change. It touches my shoulder, everything. I watch my trap close, feeling the imminent victory drain the tension from my shoulders. The grays of my bridge take a step forward. Even the obsidians lean to watch the displays. As Carnassus' ship registers my squadron's signatures, he tries to flee, blasting his engines to escape what's coming. But the angles conspire against them, my squadron's loose missiles. Before Carnassus can deploy a flat screen or bring his own missiles to bear, 30 simulated nuclear explosions rack his last ship. There's no point to capturing his ship at this point in the game, until the blue fighter pilots relish a little overkill, and like that I have won. My bridge erupts with shouts from grays and the orange technicians. The blues rap their knuckles vigorously, the obsidians at odds with this high-tech world. Make no sound, my personal valet Theodora smiles to our younger charges at the bridge's valet station, a former Rose courtesan well past prime age. She's heard her fair share of secrets and serves as my social advisor across the ship from engines to kitchens. The victory transmits through hollow screens. This is not just my victory, each man and woman shares it in their own way. That is the scheme of the society. To prosper, your superior must prosper. As the first found a patron and the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, so must the low colors find their own in me. It breeds a loyalty of necessity to golds that the color system itself cannot create by mere dictation. Now my star will rise and all aboard will rise with it. Power and promise our celebrity in this culture. Not long ago, when the arts governor announced he would sponsor my studies at the academy, the HC channels blazed with speculation. Could someone so young, someone from such a hideous family? When look what I did at the institute. I broke the game. I conquered the proctors, killed one and bound the others like children. But was that a mere flash in the night? Now those prattling bastards have their answer. Elmsman set course for the academy. We've laurels to claim. I announce to cheers, laurel. The word itself echoes through my past, making bitter my mouth. Despite my smile, I feel no great joy at this victory, just grim satisfaction. One more step, EO. One more step forward. Preacher. Taroal Andromeda's cactus plays with the title, The Balloon I Will Shit Themselves. I wonder if I can leverage this into a command. Do you think I must join your fleet? Can never tell gory, damn bureaucracy so tedious. Coppers to grease girls to lobby. My brothers will want to throw us a party naturally. You know, just me at a brother's wrath party. Even you might finally get bedded. As if he touched your friends, Victor squeezes my hand fingers. Lingering, as though she wore a gown instead of armor. How loath I am to say it, Antonia was right about you. I feel Roque flinch and remember the sound of Antonia cutting Leah's throat as she tried to lure me from hiding. At the Institute, I had stayed in the shadows, listening to my small friend fall weightly to the mossy ground. Roque could love Leah in his own fast way, I've told you before. Not to mention your sister's name in our presence, I say to Victor, her face soaring at the curt dismissal. I turn back to Rogue, as Praetor I do believe. I have authority to stock my fleet with personnel of my choosing. Perhaps we should bring back some old faces, Severo from Pluto the Howlers, from wherever the hell they got shipped off to, and maybe Quinn from Ganymede. Broke, flushes in the cheeks at the mention of Queen's name. Personally, I wish for several the most. Neither of us is particularly diligent at keeping in touch over the HoloNet, especially me because I haven't had access to it since the Academy began. Anyway, all he's partial to sending us holograms of uniquely perverted unicorns and video clips of him reading puns. Pluto, if anything, has made him stranger and perhaps more lonely. Domino's the helm, Blue's voice draws me to the display. What's wrong, I ask. His eyes are glazed. Distant jacked into the ship's sensors, seeing the raw data of the display. I stare at not clear Domino's sense of distortion, ghosting on the large central display. The asteroids are there in blue, where gold enemies red. There should be none left, yet a red dot throbs there. Now, Rogue and Victor walk toward it. Rogue commotions his hand, and the data transferred to his data pad. A smaller hollow globe floats in front of him. He enlarges the image and cycles through. Analytic filters, radiation Victor hazards debris. The asteroid's core could cause a mirror refraction from our signal. Roque says couldn't be software. It's gone. The red dot flickers away. But the tension is spread through the bridge. All stare at the display. Nothing. There's no one else out here except my ships and Karnas's defeated flagship. Unless Roque turns to me, face drawn, terrified. Flee. He manages just as the red signal burns back to life, full power to engines by roar, 30 degrees plus our midline launch. Remaining massage at the surface of the asteroid. Tactics commands too late. Victor gasps, and I see with my naked eyes. With our instruments struggle to detect one shadow. Destroyer emerges from a hollow in the asteroid. A ship I thought we defeated 3 days ago. Its engines were off as it lay in wait. Its front half is torn and black from damage. Now its engines blast at full power, and its trajectory takes it directly toward my ship. It's going to ram us. Evac suits and pods, I shout. Someone screaming for us to brace for impact. I rush to the side of the bridge, where my command escape pod is built into the wall. It opens at my word. Cactus, Roque, and Victor sprint into its confines. I hold back, shouting at the Blues to hurry and unsink. For all their logic, they'll die for their ships. I range about the bridge, screaming at them to activate their escape hatch. The helm Blue doors pressing a button that causes a hole to dilate in the floor of the pit. One by one they unsink and are sucked down the gravity tube. Into their escape pods. Theodora, I shout, seeing her prying at a young Blue, who still clutches his operations display. With white knuckles fear, get in that gory damn pod. She doesn't listen, nor does the Blue let go. I start toward them just as the proximity sensor lets loose. One final warning blast. All slows. Bridge lights throb red. I jump for Theodora, wrapping my arms around her, and the destroyer hits my man of war at her midline. Clutching Theodora to my chest and thrown 30 meters across my bridge, slamming into a metal wall. White pain rips across my left arm. Along the seams of the mending break, I'm slapped with darkness. Lights dance their first like stars. Then as weaving lines of sand disturbed by wind, red light seeps through my eyelids. A gentle hand pulls off my clothing. I open my eyes. I'm wrapped around a dented electrical column. As the ship shudders, groaning like an ancient, dying beast sinking in the deep, the column trembles violently against my stomach. As the destroyer finishes shearing through our middle, gutting us with slow cruelty, someone shouting my name. Sound fades back into being. Lights bathe the bridge, alternating shades of murderous red. Warning sirens, the ship swans on. Theodore's delicate old hands pull at me, like a bird pulling at a fallen statue. I'm bleeding from my forehead. My nose is broken. I wipe the stinging blood from my eyes and roll onto my back. A broken display sparks beside me. It has my blood on it. Did it fall on me? A bar lies beside it, and my eyes drift to Theodora. She pried it off, but she's so small. Her hands cop my face. Get up, Dominoes. If you want to live, you have to get up. The old woman's hands tremble from fear. Please get up. Groaning, I pull myself to my feet. My command escape pod is gone. In the collision it must have launched, whether that or they left me behind. So too has the blue escape pod, jettisoned away. The frightened blue has become a stain on a bulkhead. Theodora can't tear her eyes away from the sight. There's another part in my quarters. I mutter. Then I see why Theodora wins us. Not from fear, but pain. Her leg is shattered, splayed off to the side like a length of wet, cracked chalk. They don't make pinks to last through this. I won't make it, Dominus. Go now. I bend to a knee and throw her over the shoulder of my good arm. She whimpers horribly as her leg shifts onto her. I feel her teeth rattle and I run. I run through the broken bridge toward the wounds that is killing my ship. Through the bridge levels, hallways into a scene of chaos. People swarm the main halls, abandoning their posts and functions. As they race to escape pods and the troop carriers in the forward hangar. People who fought for me, electricians, janitors, soldiers, cooks, valets, they'll never make it to safety. Many change course when they see me. They tumble forward leaning against me, panicked and crazed in their mania to find safety. They pull at me screaming, pleading. I push them off, losing a small part of my heart as each falls behind. I can't save them, I can't. An orange grabs Theodore's good leg, and a gray sergeant hits him in the forehead, till he drops like a stone to the ground. Clear a path, the thick gray bellows. She whips her scorcher out of her tactical holster and shoots it into the air. Another gray, remembering himself, or perhaps thinking, I must take it out of this death trap, joins her in parting the chaos, soon to more carve a path at gunpoint. With our help I make it to my suite. The door hisses open at my DNAS torch, and we move through. The grays beckon after us, training their scorches at the 30 desperate souls who ring the entrance. The door hisses as if to close, but an obsidian pushes through the crowd and jams herself into the door frame, preventing the door from closing. An orange joins her, then a low-ranking blue. Without hesitation, the gray sergeant shoots the obsidian in the head. Her companions gun down the blue and orange and shove them off the door frame so it can close. I tear my eyes away from the blood on the ground to lay Theodore on one of my couches. Dominoes, how much room is there in the escape pod? The gray sergeant asks me. As I head to the pod's entry lock, her hair is buzzed in military fashion. A tattoo on her tan neck peeks from under her collar. My hands fly over the control prism, entering the password with a series of hand emotions. For seats you get to, decide among yourselves, those 6 of us. To the female sergeant asks coldly. But the pink's a slave, one of the graves hisses. Not worth shit, says another. She's my slave, I growl. Those I say slag that. Then I feel the silence as much as hear it, and I know One of them has pulled a gun on me. I turn slowly. The stocky old gray is not a fool. He's backed out of my reach. I've no armor, only my razor. I might be able to kill him. The others ask what the hell he thinks he's doing. I'm a free man, Dominoes. I should get to go. The gray says, voice trembling. I have a family. It is my right to go. He looks to his fellows. Bathe in the nasty red of the emergency lights. She's just a whore, a jumped-up whore. Marcel, put the gun down, says the dark-skinned corporal. His eyes are heavy for his friend. Remember your vows. Withdraw lots. It's not fair she can't even have children. And what would your children think of you now, I ask? Marcel's eyes filled with tears. The scorcher quivers in his thick hand, then a gunshot. His body stiffens and crumples lifelessly to the deck. As the bullet from the sergeant scorcher carries through his head to slam into the metal bulkhead. We do it by rank, the sergeant says, holstering her weapon. Were I still the Manny in you, I would have stood frozen in horror. But that man is gone. I mourn his passing every day, forgetting more and more of who I was. What dreams I held, what things I loved. The sadness now is numb, and I carry on despite the shadow it casts over me. The escape pod opens, magnetic lock thudding back. The door hisses upward. I pick Theodora from the couch and strap her into one of the seats. The straps are nearly too big, made for golds. Then something deep and horrible roars in the belly of my ship half a kilometer away. Our torpedo stores detonate. Gone is the artificial gravity. Gone of the stable walls, it's an insidious sensation. Everything spins. I slam into the escape pod's floor. Ceiling, I don't know. Pressure vents out of the ship. Someone vomits. I smell it rather than hear it. I shadow the grace to get in the pod. Only one stays behind now. Face drawn and quiet as the sergeant and a corporal pull themselves into the escape pod. They strap in across from me. I activate the launch function and salute the gray, who stays behind. He salutes back, proud and loyal, despite the quiet in him, as he faces his last moment of life. Eyes distant and thinking of some young love. Some path not taken, perhaps wondering why he was not born gold. Then the door closes and he is gone from my world. I'm slammed into my seat as the escape pod shoots away from the dying ship, ripping through debris. Then we're weightless again and drifting away from trouble. As inertial dampness kick in, out of viewport, I see my flagship burping plumes of blue and red flame. Processed helium-3, which powers both ships, ignites near my man-of-war's engines, causing a chain effect explosion that rips the ship apart. Suddenly I realize it wasn't debris. I felt against my escape pod as I left the ship. It was people, my crew, hundreds of low colors spilled into space. The grays sit opposite me. He had 3 girls. The dark-skinned corporal says, shuddering as the adrenaline fades away. 2 years and he was out with a pension. And you popped him in the head after my report, coward. Won't even scrape a death pension. The sergeant sneers. The corporal blinks at her. You cold bitch. Their words fade, overcome by the beating of blood in my ears. This is my fault. I broke the rules at the Institute. I changed the paradigm and thought they wouldn't adapt, that they wouldn't change their strategy from me. And now I've lost so many lives. I may never know the tally. More people just died in a blink than during a whole year of the Institute. Their deaths opening a black hole in my stomach. Rogue and Victor hail me over the comies. They will have tracked my data pad and know I'm safe. I barely hear them. Anger thick and evil swirls inside me, making my hands shake, my heart slam. Somehow Karnas's ship continues through space. After bisecting my command, damaged but not broken, I stand in my part, unbuckling the seat's restraints. At the far end of the escape pod lies a spit tube with a preloaded star shell, a mechanized soup meant to make a man a human torpedo. It's designed to launch goals to asteroids or planets, because the pod wouldn't survive atmospheric re-entry, but I'll use it for vengeance. I launched myself onto that Bologna, Bastards bloody down bridge. Theodora has not yet woken. I'm glad. I tell the corporal to help me into the suit. 2 minutes later, I'm in the metal carapace. Takes another to argue with the computer over the calculations required from my trajectory to intersect with harnesses so that I can smash through the bridge windows. I've never heard of anyone doing this, never seen it even attempted. It's madness, but kindness will pay. I start my own countdown. The enemy ship passes arrogantly 100 kilometers away. It is like a dark snake with a blue tail, a bridge and place of eyes between us. 100 escape pods glimmer, so many rubies cast into the sun. I pray that I will find the veil if I do not survive this. 1. My controls go dead and red flashes across my helmet. The proctors override my computer and freeze my controls. No. I roar watching Karnas's ship disappear into the black. Chapter 3. Blood and Piss. 833 men and women. 833 killed for a game. I wish I never knew the tally. I repeat the number again and again as I said. In the passenger hold of the rescue ship, sent to ferry me back to the academy, my lieutenant sit afraid to meet my gaze. Even Roke leaves me be. The instructors disabled my craft before I could launch. They say they did it to spare me a fool's mistake. The gumbo was rash, stupid, and unfitting, a gold preacher. I stared blankly at them as they debriefed me. Via holo, we reached the academy on the ebbing day. Hours of my ship's time cycle. The place is a great domed metal port on the fringes of an asteroid field, ringed with docks for destroyers and men of war. Most are filled. Home to the academy and mid-sector command. Is one of the hives of the society's military. For the mid-worlds of Mars, Jupiter, and Neptune though, it does serve other planetary forces when their orbits take them near. My fellow students will have been watching here, in the dormitories. So too will have many fleet officials and peerless, and flocked here for the final weeks of the game, for parties and viewing. None will mention the cost of life, demanded by Karnassus victory. But the defeats will set back my mission. The sons of Ares have spies. They have hackers and courtesans to steal secrets. What they did not have was a fleet, nor will they now. No one greets my lieutenant saw me at the dock. Reds and browns bustle about, to the orders of 2 violets and a copper, who make preparations for Karnaster's victory in the grand antechamber. The blue and silver of House Bologna trim the cavernous metal halls. The eagle crest of his family covers the walls. They have white rose petals for him. Red rose petals are reserved for triumphs. True victories where gold blood is shed. The blood of 833 low colors doesn't count. That's a clerical issue. My lieutenant slept as we traveled back to the can. I did not. Cactus and Victor stumble now ahead of me, walking silently as if still wrapped in slumber, despite the heaviness in my shoulders. I don't yearn for sleep. Regret lies behind my bloodshot eyes. If I sleep, I know I'll see the faces of those I left to die. On the ship's hallways, I know I'll see Yo. I can't face her today. The academy smells of antiseptic and flowers. The rose petals sit in bins off to the side. Ducks above recycle our breaths and purify the air, making a steady hum. Fluorescence piss-pale light down from the ceiling, as if to remind us that this is not a kind place for children or fantasies. The light, like the men and women here, is harsh and cold. Rogue stays at my side as we walk. Though his aspect is deathly, I tell him to get some sleep, he's earned it. And what have you earned, he asks. Not a day of sulking, not a day of self-flagellation. Of all the answers, you are second. Second, brother. Why not take pride in that? Not now, Roke. Come now, he continues. It's not victory that makes a man. It's his defeat. You think our ancestors never lost. You don't need to huff and puff about this and make yourself one of those Greek cliches. Drop the hubris. It was just a game. You think I give a shit about the game? I queel on them. People are dead. They chose lives of service to the fleet. They knew the danger and died for a cause. What cause? To keep our society strong. I stare at them. Could my friend, my kind friend, be so blind? What choice did these people have? They were conscripted. I shake my head. You don't understand a thing. Do you? Of course I don't understand. You never let anyone in, not me. Not several. Look how you treated Mustang. You drive friends away as though they were enemies. If he only knew. I finds the garden abandoned. It sits at the top of the can, a large vestibule of glass. Earth and greenery designed as a retreat. For fluorescent weary soldiers, stunted trees sway in a simulated breeze. I take off my shoes, peel off my socks, and sigh as the grass goes between my toes. Lamps above the trees make a false sun. I lay beneath them till with a groan, I pull myself up toward the small, hot spring that lies in the center of the glade. Bruises most faded stain my body like little ponds of blue and purple. Ringed with yellowing sands, the water soothes my eggs. I'm thinner than I should be but strong. Tight as piano wire, well my arm not broken. I'd say I was healthier than at the institute, fighting on academy bacon and eggs. Beats the shit out of the half-raw goat meat of that place. I find the hemanthus blossom by the side of the pool. It took life when no water laps. It's indigenous to Mars like me, so I do not pick it. I buried D.O. in a place like this, buried her in the fake forest above Lycos mine, where I last made love to her. We were scrawny, innocent things then. How could so frail a girl have such a spirit, such a dream as freedom, when so many strong souls toiled and kept our heads down for fear of looking up? I shouted at Roke that I did not care about the defeat. Yet I do, and is guilt for caring about that, when so many lives should demand all my sorrow. But before today victory made me fool, because with every victory, I've come closer to making EO's dream real. Now defeat has robbed me of that. I failed her today, as if knowing my thoughts. My data pad tickles my arm. The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, calls. I peel the hair-thin display off and close my eyes. His words echo in memory. Even if you lose, even if you cannot take the victory for yourself, do not allow a Bologna triumph, another fleet under their control, will tip the scales of power. So much for that. I float in the water, drifting in and out of sleep, till my fingers wrinkle and I grow bored. I'm not meant for these quiet moments. I pull myself from the water to dress. I can't keep the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, waiting for a long time to face the old lion, then sleep maybe. I'll have to stand and watch the damn victory for kindness, but after that, I'll be away from this ugly place and headed back to Mars and maybe Mustang. But as I turn to leave the pool, I find my clothes are gone, as is my razor. Then I sense them, hearing their military boots behind me, their loud excited breaths, 4 of them I guess. I pick a stone from the ground. No, I turn, and I find 7 blocking the one entrance into the garden. All golds of House Bologna, all my blood enemies. Canus comes with the bologna fresh from his ship. His face is as haggard as mine. His shoulders may be half again as broad. He towers over me, an obsidian in every way but birth and mind. That laughing mouth of his grins with uncommon intelligence. He rubs a hand over his templed chin, muscled forearms, looking like they're carved from smooth riverwood. There's something terrifying about being in the presence of someone so large that you can feel the vibrations of their voice in your bones. Looks like we caught the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating lion, away from his pride. Low Reaper, Goliath, my mother using his call sign. Goliath the breaker, Goliath the sun killer. Goliath the savage Mustang says he once broke the spine of a fancy loon. Born gold over his knee after the brass, thought to splash a drink in his face at a Pearl Club. His mother then bribed the judicio to let him off with a fine. The list of fines he's paid for murder stretches longer than my arm graze. pinks even a violet. But his true reputation comes from killing Claudius O the Imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. The arch-governor's favorite son and heir mustangs. Brother Carnus's cousins orbit around him, all Bologna all, born under the blue. And silver sigil of the conquering eagle, brothers, sisters. Cousins to Cassius, their hair is curly and thick. Faces all beauty, their influence stretches across the society, as does the reputation of their arms. One is much older than I, shorter but more powerfully built. Like a tree stump with blonde moss covering his head. He is a man in his 30s, Kel I remember now, a full-legged. A Knights of the Society, and he came here with his brothers and cousins from me. Aragon strips off that one. He feigns a yawn as he plays these schoolyard games. Fear thunders into my chest. I find it difficult to breathe, yet I smile, fingers grazing the data pads. Con functions behind my back. 7 baloney, my chuckle. What need of your 7, Canus? You had 7 ships against my 1. Canus says I've come to continue our game. He cocks his head. Did you think it ended with your ship dying? The game is over, I say. You won. Did I win, Reaper? Canus asks. At the cost of 833 people. Whining because you lost, asks Cagney. She's the smallest of his cousins, a 20-something lancer to Carnassus' father. She's the one cradling my razor. The one Mustang gave me, she swishes it through the air. I think I'll keep this. I don't think I've even heard of you using it. Not that I'd charge raises a tricky. The perils of an uneducated upbringing, I fear. Go stick your fist up your cousin, I sneer. Must be a reason you curly-haired shits all look alike. Must we listen to him bark? Canus Cagney whines. I taught Julian to fish, Reaper Kellen the Legged says suddenly as a boy. He didn't like it, because he thought it hurt the fish too much. Thought it was cruel. That's the boy your master had you kill. That is the measure of his cruelty. So how grand do you feel? How brave do you fashion yourself? I did not want to kill him, oh, but we want to kill you. Carnes rumbles. He nods to his cousins. 2 of the baloney break branches off the trees and toss them to their kin. They have razors. But apparently they want to take their time. If you kill me, there'll be consequences. I say this is not a sanctioned duel, and I am peerless. I am protected by the compact. This will be murder. The Olympic Knights will hunt you. Try you, execute you. Who said anything of murder? Connie asks, you belong to Cassius? Cagney's fox-like face splits with a smile. Today you are protected by the Imperious Augustus. Ever watchful and calculating. Connor says his chosen boy, to kill you would mean war. But no one goes to war over a little beating. Agony favors her left leg. Knee injury, a cousin of hers leans on his heels. Frightened of me, the big one. Connor squares up, meaning he doesn't give a piss about whatever damage I can do. Cullen smiles and stands relaxed. I hate those sort of men, hard to judge. I calculate my chances. Then I remember my broken arm, my injured ribs, and the contusion of my eye. And cut those chances in half. I'm scared. They cannot kill me, I cannot kill them. Not here, not now. All of us know how this dance will end, but dance we do. Kanu snaps his fingers, and they rush toward me all at once. I throw the stone into Cagney's face. She goes down, I rush at Canus, howling like a mad Volf, slipping past his first blow in rage. A flurry of strikes into his nerve centers, driving my elbow into his right bicep, rupturing tissue. He rocks back and I press into him, using his bulk to shield me from the others and their sticks. I strip a stick away from one of the baloney cousins, leveling her with an elbow to a temple. Then I turn, spinning the stick toward Carnus's face. But it's blocked. Something hits the back of my head. Wood shatters, splinters dig into the scalp. I don't stumble, not until Carlos hits me so hard in my face with his elbow that a tooth pops out. They don't take turns coming. One by one they surround me, and they punish me with the efficiency of their deadly art cravat, named for nose organs. I manage to hit a few of my assailants. But I'm not long on my feet. Someone jams their sticking to my skin, impacting the subcostal nerve. I drip down to the ground like melting wax, and Karnas kicks me in the head. I bite through half my tongue. Warmth fills my mouth. The ground is the softest thing I feel. Choking on salt, blood and air spray out of my mouth as Karnas puts his foot in my stomach. Then throaty laughs, and the words of Long are Arcos, "If you must only wound the man, you better kill his pride." I gargle for breath. Cagney replaces Karnas sitting on my chest, knees pinning down my arms. I suck down air. She smiles in my face and looks at my hairline, lips parted. With excitement of dominating another person, she twists my hair into a grip. Her hot breath smells like spearmint. "What have we here?" she asks, pulling my data pad from its place in my arm. Damn it, he hail the Augustans. I'd rather not fight that Julie, I bitch without my armor. Then stop dawdling, Connor scowls. "Do it," she whispers as I try to speak, tracing a knife over my lips, pushing it into my mouth, till the brittle metal clacks against my teeth. "That's a good little bitch." Roughly she saws off my hair, nice and quiet. "Good Reaper, good." Blood stings my eyes as Karnas shoves Cagney off my chest, grabs me and hoists me off the ground. With his left hand he flexes his right arm, cursing about his ruined bicep. He can't pull it back to swing a punch, so instead he grins toothily at me and headbutts me once in the chest, just at the sternum. My world rocks. Is a crackle the sound of twigs over a fire. I squeeze out bubbling inhuman sounds. Kindness headbutts me again and tosses my aching body to the ground. I feel warmth splash over me and the smell of piss claw into my nostrils. They laugh and Kindness breathes into my ear. "Mother bid me to tell you, oh Papa can never be a prince. Every time you look in the mirror, remember what we did to you. Remember you breathe because we let you. Remember your heart will one day be on our table, rise so high in mud you lie." Chapter 4. Fallen. I stand before my master, but he does not care. The office walls are of paneled wood, and on the floor lies an ancient rug his iron ancestor took from a palace of earth after the fall of the Indian Empire, one of the last great nations to stand against gold. What dread those natural-born humans must have felt to see the conquerors falling from the sky, man perfected but bringing chains instead of hope. I stand in front of the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating's desk, a bare thing of wood and iron, just before the 700-year-old blood stain, where the final Indian emperor had his head parted from his body by a sneak gold killer, widely near our. The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, strokes the lion that lies beside his desk. They look like twin statues. Behind them is space. A viewport peers into the blackness where the ships of the scepter armada lie. Like giant golems in terrible slumber, we pass them. On the last leg of our 3-week voyage from Mars, the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, peers at his desk. As a stream of data runs over the wood, it seems so long ago that he took me on a tour of Mars to show me our domains. From the Latfundias where high reds toy over crops, to the great polar reaches where obsidians live in medieval isolation, he favored me, then bringing me close, teaching me the things his father taught him. I was his favorite, second only to Leto. Now he's a stranger and I an embarrassment. It's been 2 months since the day Carlos beat me at the academy. Though my hair has grown back and my broken bones have mended, my reputation has not. And because of that, my tenure in art, Governor the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating's employ, is tenuous at best. My enemies grow by the day, but these new ones prefer whispers to razors more and more. Do I believe the sons of Ares chose the wrong man? I'm not made for the cold war of politics, not made for subtlety. Hell, I'd hide a boy on the god of a horse any day, but I wouldn't know how to bribe someone properly if my life depended on it. A gentle warm voice made for half-truths drifts through the arch, governor's office, rear refineries, to nightclubs and to gray police outposts. All bombs since we left Mars. 7 attacks, my liege, 59 gold fatalities. Pliny, slender as a salamander with skin as smooth as a pink's. The political is no peerless scarred. Never even went to the institute. His glittering eyes pee around. From eyelashes that would put peacock plumage to shame. Muted lipstick coats thin lips. His hair is coiled and scented. His body thin, but muscular in a pleasing but utterly facile way. Beneath a tight embroidered silk tunic, a child could beat the living hell out of this beautiful kitten of a man. Yet he's ended families with a rumor here. A joke there. His power is of a different breed. For I am kinetic energy. He is potential, I've heard. He's also responsible for ruining my reputation. Tactics even hinted that Pliny might have put Carnes up to the violence. In the garden, or at the very least, arranged a hollow cam to record my proud moment. Beside Pliny stands the 4th man in the room, Leto. He's a bright lancer 10 years my senior. With braided hair and a half-moon grin, he's also a poet with the razor. A younger Lorne al Arcos, according to some. It's likely he'll inherit the Imperius Augustus, ever watchful and calculating's estate. Instead of the arch-governor's blood heirs, Mustang, and the jackal, truth be told, I rather like the man. The sons of Ares grow to bold. The Imperius Augustus, ever watchful and calculating martyrs. Yes, my liege, can you squince? If it is indeed they who perpetrate the act, what other ant bites us? None that we know of, but there are spiders, ticks, rats in the worlds. The bombings are crude for areas indiscriminate, uncharacteristically violent, discontiguous from the pattern of technological sabotage. And propaganda in his profile, theirs is not capricious. So I struggle believing these acts originate from him. The Imperius Augustus, ever watchful and calculating France. Then what do you suggest? Perhaps there is another terrorist group. My liege, with 18 billion souls on the census. I hardly think one man has a monopoly on terrorism, perhaps even a criminal syndicate. I've been creating a database I can share. Plenty is right. The terror attacks that have plagued Mars and other planets make little sense. Dancers spoke of justice, not revenge. These attacks are petty and gruesome. The bombing of barracks, fashion outlets, bazaars, high-color coffee shops and restaurants. Ares would never condone them. They draw too many eyes for too little result. Daring the goals to act to crush the suns. I've sent messages to dance over the hollow box. Nothing, just silence. Could he be dead? Perhaps Ares abandoned me. For this new strategy of bombing, Pliny yawns. Perhaps Ares has changed his tactics. He's a deuced one, if Ares is a man. Leto says, interesting. Augustus swivels abruptly. What makes you think Ares isn't a man? Why do we assume Ares is a man? He could be a woman. Could be a group of individuals for all we know. Which would go a long way toward explaining the discordant nature of these new attacks. Later turns to me eyes, inclusive Darrow. What do you think? Don't befaddle Darrow with complex questions. Pliny crows defensively. Make it a yes or no so he can understand. Pliny flashes me the most pitying of smiles and squeezes my shoulder, and sympathy behind his leopard smiles. He's an honest, simple beast, you should know that. I stand there and take it. He turns away. In any manner, leader, you're forgetting. We designed red culture to be highly patriarchal. Their identities of people sent us around the collection of resources to propagate the embryonic terraforming of Mars. Physically strenuous, grueling tasks performed by men. Sweet, don't let their women perform, even if they are capable, pursuant to the stratification protocol. So you see, it can't be a woman, because no roughneck Ruster would follow a man or woman who has never ridden a claw drill. Leto smiles cleverly. If Ares is a red, Pliny and the Imperius Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, both laugh. Maybe he's a deranged violent who's taking his acting to a new stage. Pliny offers or a cop are canvassed, beleaguered by filing provincial tax returns. Little adds no, an obsidian who, dare I say, has finally forsaken his terror of technology and developed the skills to use a hollow camera. Pliny slaps his leg. I give away one of my roses just to see my godman. Enough. The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, cuts him off, tapping his finger on the desk. Pliny and Leto share a grin and turn back to the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. Your recommendation, Pliny. Of course, Pliny clears his throat. Unlike their propaganda and cyber attacks, the brutality is quite simple: to counter Ares or not issue a reply. Our kill teams are prepared for tactical strikes on several terrorist training grounds beneath Mars's surfers. We should strike now. If we wait, I fear the sovereigns, Praetorians, will take matters into their own hands. Loon-born don't understand Mars, they are sluggard up. A fool pulls the leaves, my brute chops the trunk, a sage digs the roots. The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, poses something. Lorna Arcos once said to my father, it's engraved on the Hall of Blades and new themes, striking. Training grounds will do nothing except fill the hollow net with pretty explosions. I tired of political players. Our strategy must change with every bombing. The sovereign grows weary of my administration. You govern Mars, Peter says, not Venus or Earth. Ours is not a placid planet. What does she expect? Results. What you have in mind, my liege? Pliny asks. I intend to poison the sons of Ares as rotes. I want suicide bombers, not greys. Find the ugliest, nastiest reds on Mars, hold their families hostage, and threaten to kill their sons and daughters if the fathers do not do as we command. Focus the suicide bombers on surface areas with high youth density as well as to choice minds. No women bombers. I want social divide, women against violence. How little life costs here, just words in the air. Urban areas to he continues. Not just browns and red miners and agriculturists. I want dead, blue and green children in schools or arcades, next to sons of Ares cliffs. Then we'll see if other colors still sing that girl's gory damn song. My heart dips a beat. EO's song spread further than she dreamed, reaching the hollow net and ripping across the solar system. Shared over 1 billion times, thanks to anarchist hacker groups. Time and again I fear I'll be recognized. Perhaps some gold will search through the records to find that Eos husband's name was also Daro, but even I hardly recognize that skeletal pale boy. And as for names, there are no true records for low red names. I had a number, designation given to me by some officials. Copper Administrator L17L6363 and L17L6363 was hanged from his neck until dead, whereupon his body was stolen by an unknown perpetrator and presumably buried in the deep mines. You plan to alienate red from the other colors, then alienate the sons from red. Plenty smiles, my liege. Sometimes I wonder why you even need me. Do not patronize me, Pliny. It's beneath the both of us. Pliny bows indeed. Apologies, my liege. The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, looks back to leader. Yeah, squirming like a pup. I worry this will make matters worse. He told friends to himself, presently the sons are a nuisance, yes, but hardly our chief plight. If we do this, we could be pouring fuel on the flames, and worse would be as guilty as the sons themselves, terrorists. There's no guilt. Pliny Pierce ID at a stream of data on his databed. Not when you're the judge. Peter isn't satisfied. My liege, our imperative to rule exists, because we are fit to best guide mankind. We are Plato's philosopher kings. Our cause is order, we provide stability. The sons are anarchists, their cause is chaos. We should use that as our weapon, not graze in the night bombers among children. We should aspire to a higher purpose. Pliny asks, yes. Perhaps fashion and media campaign against the sons. Darrow, wouldn't you agree? Again I do not answer, not until the Arch-Governor acknowledges my presence. He does not value impedance or impropriety, unless it benefits him. Idealism, plenty size. Admirable in the young, if misguided. Take care in talking down to me. Political little growls, scanning Pliny's, smirking face for the absent, peerless scar. Your plan should be less brutal. Arch-Governor, that is my point. Brutality. The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, lets the word hang in the air. It is neither evil nor good. It is simply an adjective of a thing, an action in this case. What you must pass is the nature of the action. Is it evil or good to stop terrorists who bomb innocents? Good, I suppose. Then what do our methods matter, so long as we harm fewer innocents than they would harm? If we continue to allow them to exist, the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, folds his long-fingered hands. But at the core, this is no philosophical issue. It is a political one. The sons of Ares are not the threat, not at all. All they are is a weapon for our political enemies, namely the Bologna. To use as an excuse to claim I cannot control Mars, the curly hairs already seek to strip me of the governorship. As you know, the sovereign has so power to remove me from the position. Even without a vote from the Senate, if she wishes, she can give Mars to another house below. Now our allies, the Uli, even a non-Martian house. None of these entities would run Mars as effectively as I, and when Mars is run effectively, all benefit low and high. I'm not a despot, but a father must cuff the ears of his children if they make an attempt to set fire to his house. If I must kill a few thousand for the greater good, for helium free to flow, and for the citizens of this planet to continue to live on a world untorn by war, then I will, which brings us to Darrow, our Andromedus. Now his cold eyes turn on me, fresh from ordering the deaths of 1,000 innocents, and I cannot help but flinch as a dark hate rises inside me. I bow my head in polite deference. My liege, you summoned me. I did, and your purpose here shall be brief. You were a gambits when I took you from the Institute and put you in my employ. You know this. Yes, I thought your narrative to be sufficient. I found your rivalry with Cassius L. Bologna amusing in a schoolyard way. But the blood feud declared between you has become, despair's a glance at Pliny, burdensome to my interests. Both economically and politically, substantial revenues have been lost due to tariff increases. To the core, Babylon's supporters, lie houses waver, and the commitment to honoring deals made years ago at the trade table. So as an act of reconciliation to these agreed parties, I have decided to sell your contract to another house. I shudder inside, my liege. I try to interject. This cannot happen. If he strips me off my place, nearly 3 years of work will have been for nothing. If I may, you may not. He opens a drawer and idly tosses the slab of meat to his lion. The lion waits for the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, to snap his fingers. Before eating, the decision was made a month ago. There's no use banding words with me. I'm not Quicksilver. Negotiating the price of lithium futures, Pliny. The particulars are rather simple, Darrow, so they shall be easy to grasp. Plenty hasn't taken his eyes from me. The Arch-Governor has been overly kind and giving you the fair warning in case of termination. As stipulated in your contract, my contract says I'm to be given 6 months fair warning. If you recall Section 8 subsection C, clause for you're to be given 6 months fair warning, unless you fail to act in a manner befitting a lancer of the esteemed house, the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. Is this a joke? I look to Leto and the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. Do you see us laughing? Pliny asks primly. No, not even a scoff or chortle. Of all the lancers, I came in second at the academy. You couldn't even make it through the institute. Oh, it's not that you did well enough. Then what? It is your constant presence on the HC talk shows. I've never gone on the HC. I don't even watch it. Oh, please. You relish your own celebrity even though they mock you. You bathe in the limelight and cloak this house with shame. We know your datapad search history is. We see you preening at yourself in the HC as though we're your personal mirror. The stories run on you and the Arch-Governor's daughter. Mustang is in court on Luna, which you likely encouraged. Did you ask her to join the Sovereign's court? Is it part of your plan to divide daughter from father? You're spinning horseshit, Pliny, and you create a tawdry name for the Imperious. Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, you brawl with baloney and baths. Set aside for refreshment and contemplation, this we cannot abide. I don't even know what to say, he's making it up. There's enough in reality to make a case, but he lies just to spit in my eye. Just to show that I am in his power. Plenty continues. The termination of the contract will occur in 3 days. 3 days by echo. Till then you will accompany us to the surface of Luna and stay in the residence provided for the house. The Imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating for the summit. Though as of this moment, you are no longer a lancer of this house. You do not represent the Arch-Governor and may not use his name to gain access to facilities, nor curry favor with young ladies or young men. Neither imposed promise or threat your house. Databad will be confiscated. Your Lancer ID codes have already been downgraded, and you will cease and desist participation in all projects to which you were previously assigned. I've only been assigned construction projects. Pliny's lips crawl into a reptilian smile. Then this shall be an easy transition. To whom am I being sold? I manage. The Imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, doesn't look in my eyes as he abandons me. He pets his lion. You would guess I'm not even in the room. Leto stares at the ground ashamed. He is nobler than this charade. But the Imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, wants him here to watch, to learn how to amputate a rotten limb. You're not being sold, Darrow, despite your birth. I would have expected you to understand your place. We are not pink or obsidians to be sold as slaves. Your services are being traded at auction. Pliny says it's the same gory thing by his. You're abandoning me, whoever buys my services cannot protect me from the baloney. Those curly hair bastards will hunt me down and kill me. The only reason they didn't 2 months ago was because you were an Augustan representative. Plenty asks. But the Arch-Governor does not owe you anything, Darrow. Is that the misapprehension you suffer? In fact, you owe him. Protecting you costs us money. It costs us opportunities, contracts, trade. And that cost us proven to dear. We must be seen to promote peace with the Balona. The Sovereign wants peace. You're a source of friction. A chafing bar in our proverbial saddle, and an instrument of war. So now we melt our sword into a plowshare. But not before you use it to lop off my head. Darrow, do not beg. Plenty sighs. Show some resolve, young man. Your time here has expired. Yes, but you've got pluck. You've got the vigor of a young man. Now straighten that spine of yours and leave with the dignity of a girl. Who knows, he tried his best. His eyes laugh at me. That means leave this offers now. My goodman before Lita throws you out on your preposterously turned buttocks. My stare at the Arch-Governor. Is this what you take me for? Some sniveling child to be pushed into a corner? Darrow, it'll be best if neither begins. It is you who have pushed us into a corner. Pliny answers, putting a hand on my shoulder. If you're worried you won't receive a severance package, you owe enough money to the last time one of the Arch-Governor's lackeys touched me. I buried a knife in his cerebellum 6 times. I look at his hand as he quickly withdraws it. I swear on my shoulders, I do not answer to a scarless pixie whelp. I am a peerless god Arch-Primus of the 542nd class. Of the Institute of Mars, I answer to the Arch-Governor alone. I take a step toward the Imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, causing Leto to take a protective angle. The length of my temper is well remembered. You put Julian Albolona in the passage with me, my leash. My eyes burned down at him. I killed him there for you. I warred against Carnus for you. I kept the mouths of my men sealed, after you tried to buy your son. Victory at the Institute. Leto flinches at that. I altered the recordings. I proved myself better than your blood heirs. Now, my liege, you say, I'm a liability. You are a peerless guard. The arch-governor agrees, examining data on his desk. But you are of little substance. Your family is dead. They left you with no lands, no holdings of resources or industry, no position in government. Always seized as their debts came to you, including their honor. What scraps you have been given by your betters, cherish what favor you. Carry to remember, I thought you favored deeds, not titles. My liege Mustang has left you. Do not make the mistake of severing me from you as well. Finally, he raises his head to look at me, eyes belonging to some creature beyond man. A distant callous calculation fueled by monstrous, inhuman pride, a pride that goes beyond him and stretches back to man's first, feeble steps into black space. It is the pride of a dozen generations of fathers and grandfathers and sisters and brothers, all distilled now into a single brilliant, perfect vessel that bears no failure, abides no flaws. My enemies embarrassed you. So they embarrassed me, Darrow. You told me you would win. But then you lost, and that changes everything. Chapter 5. Abandoned. I will soon die. That is the thought I carry with me. As I shuttle coasts away from the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating's flagship, and flits through the Scepter Armada, I sit among the Lancers, but I am not one of them. They know, appropriately they do not speak to me. Whatever bonds they could make does not matter. I have no political capital. I overhear Tactus being offered a wager to see how long I last outside of Augustus's protection. One Lancer says 3 days. Tactus argues ferociously against the number, showing the true extent of the loyalty I earned from him at the Institute. 10 days, he declares, at least 10 days. It was he who launched the escape pod without me. I always knew his friendship was conditional, yet still the wounds gnaws deep, carving in me a loneliness I can't express. Loneliness I've always felt among these goals, but tricked myself into forgetting I am not one of them. So I sit there in silence, staring out the window as we pass the gathered fleet, and wait for Luna to appear. My contract ends on the final evening of the summit, where all ruling families gather on Luna to deal with matters pressing and frivolous. That is the 3-day window I have to improve my stock, to make others think that I am undervalued by the arch-governor and ripe for recruitment. But no matter my value, I am marred. Someone had me, then threw me away. Who would want such a used thing? This is my fate. Despite my golden face and talents, I am a commodity. It makes me want to tear my bloody damn sigils out. If I'm to be a slave, I should at least look a slave. To make matters worse, there's a price on my head. Not officially, of course. That is illegal because I am not an enemy of the state. Yet my enemy is far worse, far crueler than any government. She is the woman who sent Carnus and Cagney to the academy, they say every night. Since I stole Julian's life and the passage, his mother, Julia Albolona, has sat at the long table of her family's high hall, upon the slopes of Olympus Mans, and lifted the semicircular lid of the silver tray, brought to her by the pink man servants. Every night the tray remains empty, and every night she sighs in sadness, peering down the table at our large family, only to repeat the same vindictive words. It is clear I am unloved. If I were loved, there would be a heart here to set my hunger for vengeance. If I were loved, my boy's murderer would no longer draw a breath. If I were loved, my family would honor the brother. But I am not. He is not. They do not. What have I done to deserve such a hateful family? Then, the Grand Bologna family will watch their matriarch Gun coil from her chair, her body withering from hunger, nursing instead on hate and vengeance. And they will remain silent as she leaves the room, more wraith than woman. What has kept my heart from her place is the art, governor's arms, money and name, politics. The very thing I hate has kept the breath in me. But in 3 days that aegis will be a shadow of memory, and all that will protect me are the lessons my teachers have given me. It'll be a duel, one of the lancers says then louder. Can't turn that down and keep his honor for long, not if Cassius himself offers it. Old Reaper has a few tricks up his sleeve. Doctor says you might not have been there, but he didn't kill Apollo with his smile. Use the razor, didn't you, Darrow? Another lancer asks, tone mocking. I haven't seen you on the fencing grounds of late. You've never seen him there. Just another the pixie avoids what he's not good at, eh? Rogue stares angrily beside me. I put a hand on his forearm and turn slowly to regard the offending lancer. Victor sits behind him, idly watching the scene. I don't fence, I say. Don't or can't, someone asks with a laugh. Leave him be. Razor masters are expensive. Cactus notes with a sly grin. Is that how it is, tactics? I ask. He makes a face. Oh. Come now, just having a go at you. So gory, damn serious. You used to be more playful. Rogue says something to make tact a skull and turn away. But I don't hear. I've sunken into memory. Where this golden game once seemed so easy. What has changed? Mustang, you're more than this, she whispered as I left her for the academy. Tears swelled in her eyes, though her voice did not waver. You don't have to be a killer. You don't have to court war. What other choice do I have? I asked me. I'm the other choice. Stay for me. Stay for what might be. At the Institute you made followers of boys and girls who have never known loyalty. If you go to the academy, you abandon that to be my father's warlord. That's not what you are. That's not the man I. She did not turn, but her face changed as her sentence trailed away, lips drawing a hard line. Love, was that what we built in the year after the Institute? If so, the word stuck in her throat, because she knew as I knew, that I had not given her all of me. I had not shared all that I am greedily. I kept secrets, and how could someone like her, someone with so much self-worth, bare herself and throw her heart at a man who gave so little in return? So she closed her golden eyes, shoved the razor into my hands and told me to go. I don't fault her. She chose politics, governance, peace, which is what she thinks her people need. I chose the blade because it is what my people need. It fills me with a strange emptiness, knowing that I was enough for her when I was never enough for you. Roque was right. I pushed her away. I didn't push several away. I asked him to be stationed with me. Then suddenly he was reassigned to Pluto, like many of the Howlers relegated to protecting far construction operations from petty pirate raids. I now suspect Pliny's hand, and that my path has never felt lonelier. You'll not be abandoned, Roque says, leaning in close. Other families will want you for themselves. Don't let tactics in your head. The baloney won't make a move against you. Of course they won't. I lie. He can still sense my fear. Violence isn't allowed in the Citadel. Dara, especially blood feuds, even duels, are outlawed unless consent is given by the sovereign herself. Simply stay on Citadel grounds to leave a new house, and all will be well by your time. Do what you must, and in a year, the Arch-Governor will feel like a fool when you've risen under the tutelage of another. There's more than one path to the top. Always remember that, brother. He grips my shoulder. You know, I would ask my mother and father to bid for you, but they won't go against the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. I know they could spend the millions on the contract and not even notice the loss, but Rogue's mother has not set a senator for 20 years. Because of her charity, her loss is thrown in. With the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating's contingent in the Senate, what he wills she, Supports, I'll be fine. You're right, I say as Luna appears in the window, hushing the aides and filling me with dread. The city moon of Earth, orbiting satellites and installations, encircle it like a steel angel's halo, wrapped around a ball of amber held to the sun. I'll be fine. Chapter 6, Icarus. We land near the Citadel. Sticky, polluted wind bends the tiring trees. Near our landing pad, perspiration quickly beads along the top of my high collar. Already I do not like this ugly place, despite the fact that we land here on Citadel grounds, which are far from the nearest cities and surrounded by forests and lakes. Lunar's air cloys and sticks to the lungs. On the horizon just past the spiked spires of the Citadel's western campus, Earth hovers swollen and blue, reminding me that I'm so far from home. The gravity here is less than Mars has only 1/6 Earth's, and it makes me feel unsettled and clumsy. I seem to float when I walk, and even though coordination quickly returns, my body suffers its own likeness, with strange feelings of claustrophobia. Another vessel lands to the north, looks like baloney. Silver Roke says quietly, squinting against the sunset. By chuckle, he glances back at me. What? Just imagining having a pulse rocket right about now. Well, that's just lovely of you. He walks along. I follow, eyes lingering on the vessel. I do love the sunsets of Luna, like Gordon Homer's world sky. A hot shade of fresh forged bronze above the alien sky melts into the night. With the long setting of the sun, for 2 weeks, the daylight will disappear from this part of the moon. 2 weeks of night, luxury yachts cruise through the strange days. And while nimble, blue-piloted ripwings roar past on patrol, like bats glued together from shattered ebony. The 1/6 gravity lets these loon-born build to their heart's desire, and build they do. Beyond the Citadel grounds, the horizon is fenced with towers and cityscape. Wrong paths wind everywhere, so that citizens can pull themselves through the air with ease. The network of wrongs stretch between high towers, as would ivy, linking the heavens with the hells of the low districts along them. Thousands of men and women crawl like ants on vines, while gray patrol skiffs buzz around the thoroughfares. The household of the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, is assigned a villa, nestled within 30 acres of pines on Citadel grounds. It's a pretty thing, among other pretty things in this stately place. There are gardens, paths, phantoms carved with little winged boys of stone. All that sort of frivolity, fancy assertion of cravat. I ask Rogue, nodding to the training facility beside the villa. My mind's running away with itself. I can't, Rogue winces, stepping out of the way of our fellow lancers and their attendants who fall into the villa. I have to attend the conference on capitalism in the governed age. If you wanted a nap, I'm sure they have beds in the villa. You joking? Regulus OG soon is giving the keynote. I whistle. Quicksilver himself. So you're going to learn how to make diamonds out of gravel. You hear the rumor about him owning the contracts of 2 Olympic nights. It's not a rumor, least according to Mother. Reminds me of what Augusta said to the sovereign at her coronation: a man is never too young to kill, never too wise, never too strong, but he can damn well be too rich. Arco said that. Number, I'm sure it was the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. I shake my head. Check your facts, brother. Long R. Arco said it, and the sovereign turned to reply, you forget, Rage Knight, I am a woman. Arcos is as much myth as man, at least to my generation. Reclusive now. He was the sword of Mars and the Rage Knight for over 60 years. Careless knights across the society have offered him the deeds to moons if he would but tutor them for a week in his form of cravat. The Willow Way. It was he who sent me the knife ring that killed Apollo, and then offered me a place in his house. I rejected it. Then choosing the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating over the old man. You forget I am a woman, Roke repeats. He cherishes these stories of their empire, the way I cherished stories of the Reaper and the Veil. When I get back, let's talk, not the usual banter. You mean you won't yammer on about a childhood crush? Drink too much wine, wax poeting about the shape of Quinn's smile, and the beauty of a Tuscan gravesides before falling. Asleep, I ask, his cheeks flush, but he puts a hand over his heart on my honor. Then bring a bottle of foolishly expensive wine, and we can talk. I'll bring 3. I watch him leave, eyes colder than my smile. Several of the other Lancers attend the conference. With Roke, the rest make themselves comfortable. As the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, his gray security teams calm the grounds, obsidian bodyguards trail goals like shadows, pinks sway gracefully into the villa, and a constant stream, ordered from the Citadel's garden, by members of the Arch-Governor's household, staff who find themselves bored from travel, and seek a little merriment. A pink Citadel steward guides me to my room. I laugh when I arrive. Perhaps there has been a mistake, I say, looking around the small room, with its adjoining washroom and closet. I'm not a broom. He's not a broom. So he won't fit in this closet. Theodora says, standing in the doorway behind us. It is beneath his station. She looks around, her nose sniffing disdainfully. These would not even suit us. Closer to my clothes on Mars. This is the Citadel, not Mars. The steward's pink eyes. Survey the lines on Theodora's aged face. There is less room for useless things. Theodora smiles sweetly and gestures to the rose quartz tree. Pinned to the man's breast, I say, "Is that the black poplar of garden Dryope? Your first time seeing it?" I would guess he says haughtily before turning to me. "I don't know how they raised your pinks and Mars's gardens dominoes, but on Luna, your slave should do her best to look less affected." Of course, how rude of me. Theodora apologizes. "I merely thought you would know Matron Carina." The steward pauses. "Matron Carina. We were girls together in the gardens. Tell her," Theodora says. "Hello," and would call on her if time is found. "Your rose," his face goes sheet white, "was all petals wilto. But do tell me your name. I would so like to commend you to her for your hospitality." He mumbles something quite inaudible and departs. Bowing lower to Theodora than to me. "Was that fun?" I asked. "Always nice to flex a little muscle, even if everything else is starting to droop. Seems my career ends where yours began." I chuckle morbidly and walk over to the holo display. Sitting near the bed, "I wouldn't," she says. I bite my bottom lip, a signal for spying devices. "Well, of course that. But the HoloNet is not where you want to be right now. What are they saying about me? They're wondering where you'll be buried." I haven't time to reply before knuckles rap against the frame of my room's doorway. "Dominus Lady Julia requests your presence." I follow Victress Pink to her rooms. Private terrace. Her bath alone is larger than my bed. "It's not fair," a voice says, from behind the ivory white trunk of a lavender tree. I turn to see Victor playing with the thorns of a shrub. "You being cut loose like a gray mercenary. Since when have you been concerned with what's fair? Victor, must you always fence with me?" She asks, "Come sit," even with the scars that distinguish her from her sister, her long form and luminous faces without. "True fault," she said, smoking, "some designer burner. That smells like a sunset over a large forest." She's heavier of bone than Antonia, taller, and seems to have been melted into being. Like a spearhead cooling into angular shape, her eyes flash with annoyance. "I'm as far from an enemy as you have Darrow. So what are you, a friend? A man in your position could use friends. No, I'd rather have a dozen stained bodyguards. Who has the money for that?" She laughs. I raise an eyebrow. "You do? Well, they couldn't protect you from yourself." I'm a bit more worried about Polona Razor's worry. "Is that what I saw on your face as we descended?" She lets him merry sigh escape her lips, curious. "See, I thought it was dread terror. All the truly unsettling things. Because you know this moon will be your grave. I thought we weren't fencing anymore. I say you're right, it's just I find you very odd. Or at least I find your choice and friends to be odd. She is sitting in front of me, on the lip of the fountain. Her heels scrape against the aged stone. You've always kept me at arm's length, while bringing Tactus and Rogue close. I understand Rogue even if he is as soft as butter. But Tactus is like flossing with a viper, and expecting not to get bitten. Is it because he was your man at the Institute that you think he's your friend? I laugh at the idea after Cactus told me how his brothers broke his favorite violin. When he was a boy, I had Theodora spend half my bank account on the stud of various violin from Quicksilver's auction house. Cactus didn't thank me. It was as if I'd handed him a stone. He asked what it was for. I said for you to play. He asked why. Because we're friends. He looked back down at it and walked away. 2 weeks later, I discovered he took it and sold it, and used the money for pinks and drugs. He is not my friend. He is what his brothers made him to be. She notes, hesitating, as if reluctant to share her information with me. When do you think he's ever received something without someone wanting something in return? You made him feel uncomfortable. Why do you think I'm wary with you? I lean closer. It's because you always want something. Victor, just like your sister. I thought it might be Antonia. She's always ruining things, ever since the She-Wolf. Not her way out of mother's womb. And stole human clothes. Good that I was born first. Else he might have strangled me in my crib. And she's only my half-sister anyway. Different fathers. Mother never saw much point in monogamy. You know, Antonia even goes by Severus instead of July, just to take a piss on mother. Cantankerous brat, and I get saddled with her moral baggage. Ridiculous. Victor plays with the many jade rings on her fingers. I find them odd, contrasting with the Spartan severity of her scarred face. But Victor has always been a woman of contrast. Why are you talking with me, Victor? I can't do anything for you. I have no station, I have no command. I have no money, and I have no reputation. All the things you value, oh, I value other things too, darling. But you do have a reputation, all right. Please make sure of that. So he did play a part in the gossip. Thought Cactus was just running his mouth apart. Taro, he's been at war with you since the moment you kneel to the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating. She laughs. Before then, even he canceled the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating to kill you then and there, or at least try you for the murder of Apollo. Didn't you know? She shakes her head at my blank stare. The fact that you're just now realizing this shows just how ill-equipped you are to play his game. And because of that, you're going to be killed. That's why I'm speaking with you. I'd rather you found an alternative, instead of sulking in your beastly quarters. Otherwise, Cassius Albalone is going to come, and he's going to take a knife and dig it right here. She caresses my chest with a long-nailed finger, etching the outline of my heart, and give his mother her first real meal in years. Then what is your suggestion? You stop being such a little bitch. She smiles up at me and holds out a data slip. Drudgingly, I take the edge of the thin metal slip, but she holds on, pulling me towards the edge of the fountain, between her legs. Her lips part, her tongue playing along the top, as her eyes trace my face up and up to my eyes, where they try to spark a fire. But there's none there. With a feline sigh, she lets the data slip go. I run it over my personal data pad, and an advertisement for a tavern appears on my display. This isn't on Citadel grounds, I say so. So if I leave, it's open season on my head. Then don't advertise you're leaving. I take a step back. How much are they paying you? You think this is a setup, is it? No. I don't know, you're telling the truth. Most people can't afford the truth. I can. Oh, that's right. I forgot, you never lie. I am of the gens Yuli. She stands slowly, anger uncoiling like a razor. My family trades and commerce enough to buy continents. Who could afford to purchase my honor if one day I become your enemy? I will tell you, and I will tell you why. Everyone's honest till they're caught in a lie. Her laugh is husky and makes me feel small and boyish, reminding me she's 7 years older than I. Then stay, Reaper, trust in chance, trust in friends. Hide here till someone buys your contract and pray they didn't do it, just to serve you up to the balona like a suckling pig. I weigh the odds and extend a hand to help her up. Well, when you put it that way. Colonel Valentine, Victor asks, the shorter of the two grays, who wait for us on the ramp of the shuttle. It's a shit, can one of the ugliest flyers I've ever seen. Like the front half of a hammerhead shark. By either taller of the grays wearily. Yes, Domina. Valentine says, nodding his cinder block head. With the rigid precision of a man risen through the ranks. You are sure you are not followed? Certain as death, Victor says, we should depart fast like then. I follow Victory into the shuttle. Scanning the grounds behind us, we wore ghost cloaks. As soon as we departed the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating villa, a dozen hidden hallways and 6 old gravelists later, we arrive in a dusty, seldom used section of the Citadel's launch pads. Theodora left us there. She wanted to come, but I won't take her where we're going. McGray scans Victor and me for bugs as we board the ship. The ship's ramp slides closed behind us, 12 craggy. Grays fill the small passenger hold of the shuttle. They're not the dashing sort. Just craftsmen of a dark trade, though there are averages. Colors are diverse in composition due to human genetics and the differing ecosystems throughout the society. The grays of Venus are often darker and more compact than those of Mars, but families move and mix and breed. The talent levels in each color are even more variable than appearance. Most grays aren't destined for anything more than patrolling shopping centers and city streets. Some go to the armies, some to the mines, but then there are the grays, who were born a special breed of wicked and clever, and have been trained all their lives to haunt the gold enemies of their gold masters, like these in the shuttle with us. They call them lurchers after the much dogs of Earth. Crossbred for uncommon stealth, cunning and speed, all for one purpose: killing things bigger than they are. We're bound for Lost City, and it's just the 12 of you. I ask, I know they're enough, I just don't like grays. So I push their buttons, the I me, with a quiet reserve of a family. Meeting a stranger on the road, Valentine's the father. He's built like a squat block of dirty ice, carved by a rusted blade. And a sun-blasted face is dark and set with quick eyes. His lieutenant son Hugh leans toward us. Tough and gnarled as an olive tree, both are earth-burn. By the looks of their continentally ethnic features, these grays wear no triangular badge of the Society's Legion on their civilian street clothes means they've served their mandatory 20 years. We're tasked with your protection. Dominoes, says Valentine as soon what loads an exotic circular weapon on the inside of her left wrist. Looks plasma-based. My team has prepared a secure route. Estimated travel time 24 minutes if Pliny finds out where I'm going, or if the Bologna know I'm out of the Citadel. The lurchers know the situation, Victor says. I don't see a gold badge, mercenaries. Means we are good enough to live this long, Dominus Wellington says flatly. We've prepared for all eventualities. Contingency plans and support have been organized. How much support? Enough for just the transporters, Dominus. His mouth twitches into a smile, and I take his word for it. Bigger problem than the baloney is third parties. Thinking and opportunities just stumble their way. Where we're going, there will be a hell of a lot of third parties. Dominus shit complicates our Roy. Soon what? We're this. Soon what tosses me a bag of plain clothing. Her voice drones on in a monotone drawl. You're tall, can't do shit. All about that, but we'll do a quick die job with this. This and this. She tosses Victor another bag for you, boss. Thought you dressed to fancy. Victor laughs at that. Muzzles off, boys, Valentine barks. As the ship trembles and rises in the air, we're live. Thumpers and burners prime and practiced hands. Staccato sound of steel on steel, like metal. Knuckles cracking as magnetic rounds go into chambers. The lurchers conceal weapons. And hidden Hollisters over tight. Scarab skin armor. 3 wear legal wrist weapons. I either contraband as I slip into my scarab skin. It drinks in the light strange pupil like black. More the absence of color than anything else. Better than the Duro armor we had at the Institute. It'll stop some blades, and the occasional projectile weapon. Like the common Scorcher. The ship shudders as its main engines overtake, the vertical thrusters. Salon and Minotaur, be advised, Icarus is on the move. Valentine rasps into his calm repeat. Icarus is on the move. Chapter 7. The Afterbirth. On Lunar there is no dark, no true dark at least. Lights of a million shades swim together, glossing over the moon's jagged, cracking steel skin of cityscape, sneaking public trams and air thoroughfares, flashing communication centers, bustling restaurants and steer police stations. Weave into the metal dermis of the city, like blood capillaries, nerve endings, sweat glands and hair follicles. We fall away from gold districts, forsaking the high reaches of the city, with stately shuttles and grab boots. Ferry goals to opera houses, atop kilometers high towers. We dive down past the wealthy, silver and copper districts, winding away through wrong paths and aerial trains. Through the mid-districts where the yellows, greens, blues and violets reside, past the low district, where grays and oranges make their homes. Down and down we go to the gutters of the city. With the roots of this colossal steel jungle, burrow into the ground. Myriad low colors ride public transportation. From factories to the windowless apartments, some no larger than 1 meter by 3, only room enough for a bed. Cars rattle exhaust and clogged beacon-lit boulevards. The deeper we go, the fewer the lights. The dirtier the buildings, the stranger the animals. But the more brilliant the graffiti. I glimpse gray police standing over arrested, brown vandals, who covered an apartment complex with the image of a hanging girl, my wife, 10 stories tall, hair burning. Rendered in digital paint, my chest constricts as we pass, cracking the walls I've built around her memory. I've seen her hanged 1,000 times now. As our martyrdom spreads across the worlds, city by city, at each time it strikes me like a physical blow, nerve endings shivering in my chest, heart beating fast, neck tight just under the jaw. How cruel alive at the sight of my dead wife means hope. No matter our reputations, no enemy would seek us here. No ears to listen, no eyes to see. This is a place of gang killings, robberies, turf battles, drug trade that my new friend wants such human privacy. Privacy, not even a jam field can really offer in the Citadel. And the high city means much. It worries me, means the rules are void. But Victor was right and Roque was not. Patience will do me nothing, I must take a risk. The team of lurches has secured an abandoned garage. They provide security for the shuttle, while Valentine's team escorts me from the garage into the bottle of the dirty street outside. Refuse and water make bogs out of alleys. Humid air is thick with the sweet musk of wrath. On the charred sort of burning garbage, hawkers cry at wares from cracked sidewalks, clogged with reds, browns, grays, and oranges of all species. Urchin invalid, working class gangers, tweakers, mothers, fathers, beggars, cripples, children. The lost, EO would say this is the hell they've built, their heaven upon, and she'd be right, gazing up. I see more than half a kilometer of tenement buildings before the polluted haze makes a ceiling for the human jungle. Closed lines and electrical lines crisscross overhead. Like vines, this sight is hopeless. What is there to change here but everything? We're to meet at the Lost Wee Den. It's a large, tall tavern with a flickering red sign. Covered in pitty graffiti, 15 levels all open and looking. Down on a central drinking hall of tables and booths filled with some to 100 customers. I can smell the piss in the metal booths, which sag from use. Bottles rattle, and glasses clink as swell as slammed back. Indigo and pink lights flicker on the 10th floor, where they've dancers and private rooms for customers. I pass with Valentine, through to bouncers with Biamot hands. One obsidian with skin pale as bleached marble, and arms thicker than mine. The other a dark skin gray, with a scorcher muzzle built into his arm. The rest of my graves filter in behind me, and staggered intervals. Some wearing contacts pretending to be other colors. One even wearing a flesh mask to look pretty as a pink. Can't even tell it's digital till you put a magnet near it. They look like they belong here. I doubt I do. Despite the obsidian dye job they've done to me, the sigils on my hands are covered with obsidian prosthetics. My hair is white, eyes black. Skin made paler with cosmetics. Nature and I are too large to pass for any other color. Fortunately, obsidians, though rarer than the other, low colors are not out of place down here. I follow Valentine to a table in an alcove near the back of the hall, where a young man lounges behind a pack of mercenaries, and a single obsidian. A deep silence fills me as I watch the obsidian stand and leave the table to sit as an adjacent one. Others I am too, before remembering themselves, and looking down at their drinks like waterbirds as a crocodile glides past. The obsidian is a foot taller than I, and the whole of his face is tattooed with a skull, stained. So much for a low profile. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. I asked the reclining man, Reaper. Even Milton knew Lucifer was a petty son of a bitch. He smiles enigmatically and waves to the chair across from him. Do stop tearing over me. He's not even wearing a disguise. I look over at Victor. Thought it was going to be a new friend. Well, you two have never been friends before. That'll be the new part. You boys have fun now. You're not staying, I ask. I showed you the door, you have to walk through it. She squeezes my butt playfully and sways at the jackal. Watches her leave, leaning slightly to get a better view. Didn't think you cared about women. I could be dead and I'd still appreciate her. But I don't have to tell you that. Alone in space for months on end. Ship all to yourself whatever was there to do. I sit across from him. He offers me a bottle of greenish liquor. I shake my head. I drink to forget about men like you, huh? And all cozy and insult if I'm not mistaken. One of Lon's best, though there's enough to choose from. He leans back enigmatic in his dullness, face plain, eyes like smooth worn coins. Hair the color of desert sand, blown hands, twirling a silver stylus. With the quickness of an insect, skittering over blasted ground, crack to crack. The jackal of the imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, and the reaper of Mars, together again at long last. How we have fallen. You chose the venue, I say as he sets his stylus behind his ear, and takes a chicken leg from a platter on the table. He strips the skin with his teeth. Does it unnerve you? Why wouldn't we both know how fond you are of the dark? He suddenly laughs. A whining, high-pitched bark like a dog being stabbed. So much pride to you. Darrow out, Andromeda's family all dead. Disgraced, penniless. Things so average that your parents didn't even try to introduce you to society. No friends remaining. No one who knew you before you slipped into the institute. So unassuming like, but how you rose when given a chance. Well, at least you still like to talk. I matter. And you still like to make enemies. Everyone has a hobby. I examine the stump where his right hand should be. Desperate for attention, you're the only gold alive. That wouldn't bother getting a new hand. I wonder why you provoke me still. When your reputation has shattered, your bank account's emptied. I shift in my seat. Oh yes, you didn't know. Plinier is thorough when he cuts a man's hamstrings. He emptied all your funds, so really there's very little to you. But here you sit at the bottom of a moon, alone with me with mind-throwing insults. These are yours, I ask, glancing at the low colors around us. I would have thought they disgust you. Who said you have to like your children? The jackal asks pleasantly. They are a product of our golden loins. He gnaws on the chicken leg, cracking the bone with his teeth before discarding it. Do you know what I've been doing with my time? Wanking off in the bush. Bella Snow, my defeat at your hands set me back. I'm not afraid to say it, you hurt me and my plans. My sister also wounded me, gagging me. Finding me naked and throwing me at your feet, that's done especially when all the grand lords and ladies of our fine peerless caste got a chuckle at my expense. We both know you don't feel pain, Adriers. Oh, call me the jackal. Hearing Adriers from your lips is like hearing a cat bark. He shivers but leans delightedly forward in his seat. When a brown woman with thick arms and tattoos webbing her pale, pockmarked skin slips from the kitchens. Carrying 3 steaming bowls, she sets them before us. Thank you, he says, taking to for himself. I either bow suspiciously. I'm not a poisoner, he says. I could poison my father anytime I want. But I don't. Do you know why? Because you've not gotten what you need out of him, and that is his approval. The jackal watches me through the steam of his bowl, quiet. I've been offered a great deal of apprenticeships. They offer it to my father's name, not to me. They despise me because I ate students. But it's such hypocrisy. What else was I to do? We're told to win, and I did my best. And then they criticize, act noble, as though they didn't commit murder themselves. Madness. He shakes his head with a little sigh. Yes, I could have gone to study war at the academy like you. I could have studied politics at the political school. On Luna I might have been a decent judicial, if I could stomach Venus, but I will rise without their hypocrisy, without their schools. I've heard the rumors, any true? Most. He pulls more noodles out of the bowl, spreading red pepper sauce over them. I'm a businessman. Natar, I buy things, I own things, I create. Of course, I'm seen as a money-grubbing silver by those pretentious peerless jackasses, but I am not. One of the fading lords of 20th century Europe. I understand there is power in being practical, in owning things, people, ideas, infrastructure. So much more important than money, so much more insidious than. He makes a funny motion with his hand. Spaceships and razors tell me, does a ship matter if you can't supply and transport the food to feed its crew? I above all others know the importance of food. You own this place, don't you? I ask in a manner. He smiles with too much teeth. I feel I must be blunt with you. We were nearly 18 when we left the institute. We are now 20. I have been 2 years in exile. And now I wish to return home, to socialize with peerless jackasses. I laugh. If you have been paying attention at all, you'll know I don't have. Your father's ear, paying attention. He shares a glance with Victor and leans forward. Reaper, I am the attention. Do you know how much of the communications industry I've acquired? No good. That means I'm doing it properly. I've acquired more than 20% with my silent partner. I own nearly 30. You're wondering why certain families like Victor's do not consider themselves dirty by business. After all, the Julie I have partaken in trade for centuries, but media is different for us, slimy. Leave that to Quicksilver and his ilk. So why would someone with my lineage dirtiest hands with it? Well, I want you to imagine media as a pipeline to a city in the desert. He waves around our metaphorical desert. I can provide only 30% of the content of what comes through that pipeline, but I can affect 100% of it. My water contaminates the rest. That is the nature of media. Do I want this city and the desert to hallucinate? Do I want its inhabitants to rise in pain? Do I want them to rise up? He sets his chopsticks down. It all starts with what I want. And what do you want, I ask? Your head, he says. Our eyes meet like two iron rods colliding, sending stinging reverberations through the body, a palpable discomfort even being near him. Much less meeting those dead gold orbs. He's so young my age. But there's a childishness to him, eh? Curiosity despite the ancient cast of his eyes. That makes him feel like a perversity. It's not that. I feel cruelty and evil radiating from him. It's the feeling that crept over me. When Mustang told me how as a boy, he killed a baby lion because he wanted to see its insides. To understand how it worked, you have a weird sense of humor. I know well. I'm so glad you get my jokes. So many prickly peerless these days, jewels on our blood all. Because they're bored, was no one left to fight so gory damn tedious. I believe you are making a point. Oh yes. The jackal runs his hand through his slicked back hair. Like I've seen his father do. I brought you here because Pliny is an enemy of mine. He's made my life very difficult, even penetrated my harem. Do you know how many spies of his I've had to kill? I went through so many servants. I'm not trying to make you feel sorry for me, he says. Quickly, I was on the verge of it. Understanding my plight, however, is how you will help me best. As of now, Pliny controls my father's favor. Like a snake hissing in his ear. Leto is his design, did you know that? I didn't. He found the darling boy, knew he would win my father's cold heart. Because he would remind father of my dead brother. Claudius, so Pliny cultivated him, trained him, and convinced my father to adopt him as a ward, with aims of making him the heir. Then you come, waltzing into our lives and disrupt Pliny's plan. It took 2 years to dispatch you, but patiently he did, just as he did me. Now Leto will be my father's heir, and Pliny will be Leto's master. That hits me hard. I knew Pliny was dangerous. Perhaps I never really knew just how dangerous. So what's your plan? I glance around the room. Going to take back your father's favor, with plebeians and pitchforks, as any girl with a decent education would know. There's a certain crime syndicate that runs things in Lost City, a vast criminal enterprise that, if you trace it all the way to the tip-top, is under the influence of the office of the sovereign. Of our little society, Octavia alone may seem the paragon of gold virtue. But she's got a fetish for the dirty stuff, assassinations, organizing workers, strikes in her own arch-governor's domains, rigging, appointments. Her handling of Lost City is no different. She and her furies handpick the crime family leadership. These 3 individuals are her creatures, but here's the juicy kink. I found certain members of that same organization who are restless. My frown. They don't like Loon. She's an owner's bitch. One was spat in my father's eye and cozied up to the Ballona. But no, my champions don't think on that plane. They are low colors, Darrow. They're restless to be atop the shit pile. Why Lost City, I ask? What does it matter? It is merely a piece of the puzzle. I'm going to help these ambitious low colors move up. For a price, when they are in power, they're going to kill off a menace that plagues the society, Ares and his sons. Chapter 8, Scepter and Sword. I go cold inside. The sons of Ares. I wasn't aware they were so dire a threat. They're not yet, but they will be. He says the sovereign knows it. So does my father, even if it is not in vogue to say it aloud. The society has faced terrorist cells before. Throw enough lurcher teams at them, and they are dispatched easily enough. But the sons are different. They are not a rat biting our heels, but a termite colony, slowly gnawing our foundation as quietly as possible, till they've done such work that our house crumbles around us. My father has given Plenty the task of eliminating the sons, but Plenty has been failing. He will continue to fail because the sons of Ares are clever, and because my media adores giving them attention. But when they become a thing so dreadful to society, to the sovereign, to my father, that the very machine of governance grinds to a halt, I will step forward and say I will cure this disease in 3 weeks. And then I will with my media, with a syndicate systematically killing all the sons, and with you gloriously beheading Ares himself. You want a figurehead. I am not glamorous, I do not inspire. You are like one of the old conquerors, charismatic and virtuous when they look at you. They see none of the soft decadence of Amiga time, none of the political poison that has saturated Luna since Luna's family rose to power. They will look at you and see a cleansing knife, and you dawn for a second golden age, like father-like. Son, both targeting the sons of Ares in similar ways. It's chilling thinking of the war that will rage between crime syndicate, throat cutters and Ares agents. It'll destroy the sons. The sons of Ares are only the beginning. A leverage point you want to rule. What other ambition is there? But not just Mars just because I'm small. Doesn't mean my dreams have to be. I want it all and to get it. I'm willing to do anything, even share, perhaps. You are not aware of what happened 2 months ago. I say stop a gold anywhere and ask. They'll tell you. What the Baloney family did to the Reaper of Mars. I have no reputation. The only thing I inspire is laughter. Cassius was shamed, the jackal says in irritation. He was pissed on beaten at the Institute, embarrassed. Now he is the deadliest jeweler on Luna. He fought any that would contest his worth. And now he's the sovereign's favorite new pet. Did you know? The old crow is making him an Olympic knight. Lorna Arcus and Venetia, our reign, both retired this year. That means the posts of rage, night and morning night, are open. She'd make him one of the 12. He is a piece on her board. The jacket leans forward, but I tired of playing pawn to my elders. As do I makes me feel like a pink. I say then let us rise together. I the scepter, you the sword. You won't share, it's not your nature. I do what I need to do, no more, no less, and I need a warlord. I'll be Odysseus, you be Achilles. Achilles dies in the end. Then learn from his mistakes, it's a good idea. I pause at his spreading smile with one problem. You are a sociopath, Idris. You don't only do what you need to do. You wear whatever face you need, whatever emotion you desire. Like a glove, how could I ever trust you? You killed Pax. I let the words hang in the air. You killed my friend, your sister's protector. Pax, and I had never met before. All I saw was an obstacle in my path. Of course I knew of the telekinesis, but after Claudius got his brain splattered everywhere, Father split Mustang and me up to protect us, put me in even greater isolation than her. I was his heir, I had no friends, only tutors. He ruined my youth. And then he discarded me as he discarded you. Because we lost you and I mirror each other. A fight breaks out on the level above us. A scorcher cracks, bouncers rush upward, cradling their own weapons. Most of the patrons sit undisturbed. What of your sister, I ask hesitantly, knowing deep down that I have no other options left. But this one, do you want to know how she fares? He asks plainly, who shares her bed. I can give you whatever answers you want. My eyes are everywhere, and I don't want that. I shake my head, trying to banish the dark idea of someone sharing her bed, of her finding joy in someone else, even if she deserves to. Even strangers thinking the jackal knows these things. Is she involved on this? No, the jackal says with a heavy laugh. You know she's with Loon now. It's hilarious, really. Who would have thought that of the two of us, she'd be the prodigal twin? Well, more prodigal, she cannot be hurt, I say. If she is, I will cut off your head. That's aggressive, but you have a deal, so you are with me. I've been with you since I got into the shuttle. You know I have no other options. And I know no other person would ever summon me here. The variables could only lead to this end. And why should they not? I took his hand, he took a friend. All he has done is bite and claw for his own survival. Watching him now, so small and plain in the world of gods, it's almost as if he's the hero, nobly struggling against a father who rejected him, against the society that laughs at his size, his weakness and scones him as a cannibal, even though it was they who told him to do whatever he had to do to win. In an odd way, he is like me. He could have had his hand repaired, but he chose not to, wearing it as a badge of honor instead of shame, so I'll go along with this. Then in the end, maybe I'll kill him for pox. His face splits into a ground smile. I'm so pleased. Dara, so pleased and to be honest a bit relieved. But what is next, I ask? You must need something from me now. A gold by the name of Fencor Aldrusilla has learned of my dealings with the syndicates. He is trying to blackmail me. I need you to kill him, of course, when not for a week or so. The real purpose of killing him will be to gain favor with one of the sovereign's cousins, who was slighted by Fencer. With Fencer's death you'll fall into the cousin's favor. I choked down a laugh. You'll have me play the role of a pixie gallant, fleeting about court betting ladies. Mustang will think I'm doing it to Spider. The jackal's eyes sparkle with mischief. Who said anything about ladies? Oh, I say, realizing what he means. Oh, that's complicated. Cactus might be better for this. The jackal chuckles at my surprise. Oh, you'll do just fine. But all this is worry for another day. For now, relax. I'll purchase your contract through a second party. As soon as it goes up for auction, the ballooner will try to buy it. I have a backer. Will I'd spend them. Victor. No, she's more of a broker in this. What you have to understand about Victor is she's not, how do you say, partisan. She just loves stirring the pot. The backer you'll meet soon enough. That won't work, I say. I want to meet him now. I'm not your puppet. I share everything I know. You share everything you know. But I know so much more. Fine. He leans forward. You'll meet him tonight. It's not that I don't trust you. I just think it appropriate that he introduces himself. Fine enough. I want to bring the hollers back and several done. You'll also need to select a blade master, someone to tutor you with the razor. We'll need you to kill a few people publicly. In the future, I know how to use a razor. I say not what I've heard. Come now, there's no shame in it. I have a few names. It's a pity Arcasus and tutoring these days. I might actually have the funds to afford Stoneside. And his willow way. His words trail off and his eyes drift from me, pulled to the slinking form of a woman who cuts through the smoke and drab of the tavern. Like an ember falling through fog, I can smell the almond on her skin, the citrus of her lips as she nears our table, graceful and starring as the air of Venus's summer coast. Bones fragile, avian, she wears a black shift that covers her skin, except her bare shoulders. Then I catch her eyes and I almost fall out of my chair. It's a shot to the heart. My pulse patters. It's her, the girl with wings who could never fly. But now she's fled from Mickey. It seems wings gone, ripened into womanhood. But why is Evia here? Did the sun sand her? I can barely keep my composure. She hasn't recognized me. I didn't know roses to grow so deep among the weeds. The jackal says to her, her laughter drifts like the beating of a butterfly's wings. She traces the bottom edge of the warm table and shrugs. My newly common men can't afford uncommon things. But my mistress heard uncommon men were in Lost City and sent me as an ambassador. Ah, the jackal leans back appraising her. You're a syndicate girl, one of the banners often odd. The jackal looks at me and mistakes my expression of surprise for one of desire. Take her upstairs down on me. A welcoming gift. Let me know if you want to buy her. We can discuss business tomorrow. At the word Darrow, Eve's composure buckles for a blink. She steps back and I hear her breath pattern change. And when her eyes meet mine, I know she sees through the obsidian disguise and glimpses the red underneath all these lies. However, the surprise there means she's not here for me. She's here for the jackal. But why is she with the Suns? Or did Mickey finally sell his prize to this Verbana gangster? I don't do slaves. If you says to the jackal pointing to my obsidian sigils. You'll find there's more to this one than meets the eye. Dominus I, he grabs her hand, twisting her pinky horribly. Shut up and do as you're told, girl. I will take what you won't give. He flashes a great smile and releases her. She holds her hand, trembling. It doesn't take much to wound a pink. I stand and I believe I'll take it from here. My friend, I'm sure you will. I wave the bodyguards away who try to accompany me. I follow Evie up the hand runs, leading to the 4th floor. Earning hoots from some of the patrons, my eyes catch one of the holocons above the bar. Images of a bombing ripple in 3 dimensions. It looks to be at a cafe, a gold cafe. My eyes widen as the extent of the devastation is shown. Was it the sun's? Another bombing flashes across a different screen. And another, till dozens of bombings flood the screens. Throughout the tavern, all heads turn to watch. Silence yawning through the vast tavern. Evia's hands tightens around mine. And I know it was the Suns who committed the bombings. They sent her, but why Luna, why the jackal? Why haven't they contacted me? Hurry, she says as we reach the 10th floor. Pulling me through the pink lights, past the dancers and hungry patrons, to the last door at the end of a narrow corridor. I follow her inside the dark room, and immediately smell the accurate tongue of scorcher oil. Air shifts behind me as a man in a ghost cloak creeps forward. It takes considerable effort to resist the impulse to kill him. He's one of ours if he snaps. She turns on the light, 6 reds and heavy military tech D-cloak. They wear demon helms with high-grade optics. Colin the Skimmer, he's not Aegeus Argostus. One of them growls he's a bloody obsidian. Strange look on one. One of the reds with the optics jumps back. Scorcher priming bong. Density is gold stop. Evia shouts he's a friend. Harmony has been looking for him. Not Ares or Dancer. You weren't here for me, I say. Buying their weapons. You are hunting. She turns to me. I'll explain later. But we have to go. What did you do? I asked, as one of the reds pulls out a plasma torch and cuts a hole in the wall, opening the room up to the stink of the city. Moist air rushes in and lights flood the room. As a small dropship descends, opening its side hatches, parallel to the improvised door. Dara, there's no time. I grab her. Evie, why are you here? Her eyes flash with triumph. Adrisar the Imperious, Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, has murdered 15 of our brothers and sisters. I was sent to capture or kill him. I chose the latter. In 20 seconds he'll be ash. I rip one of the red's data pads off his arm and prime my concealed graph boots. Evia shouted me. The boots whine mournfully as they lift me into the air. I ripped back the way we came, rupturing through the door instead of opening it. Flying down the hallway like a bat out of hell, I smashed past a dancer, Korean over to orange customers, and turn a razor-tight right angle down over the railing toward the jackal's table. As he finishes, his liquor is stained, marks me as do the graves. Too slow on the screens over the bombings, the static crackles, and the blood-red helm burns. Reap what you sow. Harry's voice growls from a dozen speakers. The table melts under the jackal's hand, consumed by the bomb Evie planted. The stain throws the jackal away from the table like a doll, and curls as titanic body around the mushrooming energy. His mouth moves in a death whisper. Scared near I'll fall in here. Chapter 9, The Darkness. The energy blossoms outward from the stains, liquids to the eye evaporating his body, and spreading over the floor like spilled mercury, before darkening, slipping back to the origin, sucking men and chairs and bottles toward it like a black hole before detonating with a deep nightmare roar. I snag the jackal up by his jacket and fly through the wall, slamming shoulder first as behind us glass with metal eardrums and men rapture. My boots fail. We fly across the street and slam into the building opposite, cracking concrete and falling to the ground. As the lost we then shrinks inwards like a grape, becoming a raisin, becoming dust, she exhales a death rattle of fire and ash. Before sagging to ruin, beneath me the jackal's unconscious. His legs badly burned, I vomit as I try to stand, my skeleton creaking like the trunk of a young tree. After its first hard winter wind, I stumble up only to fall back to the ground, emptying my stomach a second time. Pain in my skull, nose dripping blood, ears trickling with it. Eyeballs throbbing from the explosion, shoulder dislocated. I gain my knees, wedge my shoulders against the wall, and roll the joint back in, quivering out breath as it pops into place. The feeling of needles tickles my fingers. I wipe the sick off my hands and wobble finally to my feet. I pick up the jackal and squint into the smoke. I hear nothing but the wailing of stereocilia, like screaming sparrows in my inner ear throbbing. I shake away the lights that dance across my vision. Smoke swallows me, people flow past water around a rock, rushing to help those trapped. They'll find only death, only ash. Sonic booms puncture the night. The jackal support teams roar down from the city above. And as they lands to take him out of this hell, the sparrows in my ears fade, devoured by the crackling of flames and the crying of the wounded. I stand in front of an abandoned factory, 400 kilometers from the citadel, deep in the old industrial sector. Newer factories have been built atop this one, burying it beneath a fresh skin of industry, like a deep black head. Grime skins the place, carnivorous moss, rust-filled water. I'd have thought of that dead end if I didn't know my quarries so well. The data pad I took from the Red survived the explosion. I left the jackal for his support teams and slipped farther down the street, where I stole a gray polisgraph. After wiping the data pad's tracking device, I hacked into the data pad coordinates history. I knock hard on the locked door to the factory's main level. Nothing, they must be shitting themselves, so I kneel on the ground, hands behind my head, and wait. After a few minutes, the door creaks open. Darkness inside, then several figures slip forward. They bind my hands, cover my head with a bag, and push me into the factory. After taking me down an old hydraulic elevator, they guide me steadily toward the sound of music, Brahms' Piano Concerto. No. 2. Computers hum, welding torches flare, bright enough to glow through the bag's fabric. Here, get off from your brutes, snaps a familiar voice. Carefully, clown rumbles some red bob. Let me all you want, your rusty baboon. He's worth more than 10,000 of you, inbred roof dallow. Get out if you, says softly now. Boots for the way, can I stop pretending now? I ask, by all means, Mickey says. I snap the cuffs they use to bind my wrists behind my back and strip off the bag that covers my head. The concrete and metal laboratory is clean, quiet but for the soothing music. A faint haze floats in the air from Mickey's water pipe in the corner. A tower over him and Evia. She can't contain herself. No longer the seductress rose from the tavern. She throws herself into me. Like a little girl greeting a long-lost uncle, her hands linger on my waist as she eventually pulls back and stares up into my gold eyes with her pink ones despite her giggling. She's all sensuality and beauty, with willowy arms and a slow, intimate smile that echoes none of the grief. Killing nearly 200 people should mark her with. The winged girl has become a carrying bird, and she doesn't seem to have noticed. I wonder if she'd smile so broadly if she had to kill all those people with a knife. How easy we make mass murder. I could recognize you anywhere, she says. When I saw you at the table, my heart skipped a beat, especially in that ridiculous obsidian makeup. Taro, what's wrong? She yelps when I pick her up by the front of her jacket and shove her against the wall. You just killed 100 people. I shake my hand, sore and heavy with the weight of what's happened. How could you, Evia? I shake her, seeing again the crew of my ship fainting into space, seeing all the dead I've left in my path, feeling Julian's pulse fade to nothing. Darrow darling, Mickey tries shut up Mickey. Yes, all right, reds pinks, low colors your own people. Like you were nothing. My hands tremble. I was following orders Taro. She says Aegis has been investigating us. He had to be taken out, so with all of his scheming he'd been noticed. Tears brim and Evya's eyes. I don't recoil from them. Who gives a shit about how she feels? After what she's just done, but I release her, letting her slide pathetically down the wall, hoping she might show some glimmer of regret. That would make me think. Those tears are for the people she killed, and not for herself, not because she's scared of me. This isn't how I wanted it to be, she says, wiping her eyes when you saw me again. I stared down at her confused. What happened to you? She had a different teacher than you, Mickey says. I took her wings off and Harmony gave her claws. I turned to Mickey. What the hell is going on? It would take a year to explain. He crosses his arms and examines me. But let us first say you've been missed, my darling Prince Second. Please do not link my morality to that lost soul. I agree Evya is a little monster. He glares past me at Eve as she stands. Maybe now you'll see yourself for what you are. Its near fades quick, eyes scanning me toe to head third. You look divine, my boy, absolutely. Divine. His eyes dance over my face. His mouth opens, closes. Tripping over itself, it has so much to say. Sharp of face, oil of hair. He slides forward like a blade on ice. All angle skin wrapped around slender bones. Was he so thin when last I saw him? Or does he simply not have his cosmetics? No, his blinks are slow language. He's tired, older, and seemingly beaten down. A queer air of vulnerability. In the way his shoulders hunch, and his eyes dart around, as if expecting to be hit at any moment. I asked you a question, Mickey. I say I can't think about the forest. I'm still examining the tree. It's astounding how your body flourished. Simply astounding, my darling. You've actually grown larger. How fair your pain receptors. Did the hair follicles ever grow irritated? As I was concerned, what about the muscle contraction? Do you find it above the average of your peers? Pupil donation fast. Enough. All I heard from months was talk of you on the HC. They could not show the Institute. Of course, but there were videos leaked on the HoloNet. Such videos, you killing a peerless guard. Taking some strange fortress in the sky, like a champion of old. Even they swallow the myths of the conquerors. The noble champions of old. He grips my shoulder desperately. His hand weaker than I remember. Tell me about your life, what the academy is like. Tell me everything. Are you still lovers with that delectable Virginia? The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating? You frown suddenly. Oh, of course you're not. She's with Mickey. I grip them. Calm down. He laughs so hard he coughs. Turning for me to wipe his eyes. Just good to see a friendly face. They don't allow me kind company these days. Not at all monstrous, really. Shut up, Mickey, Evya snaps. His eyes slip to Evie when I stands far from my reach, fingering the burner holstered on her hip, as though it would protect her from me. Why are you on Luna? What is going on, I ask. Have you joined the Suns? Much has happened. Mickey murmurs, I'm not hereby. He works for us now, Daryl. Evya interrupts coldly. Whether he likes it or not, we took his little skin den apart. Used the funds he made from selling flesh to buy transport here and equip an army. We're striking back. Dara finally, one pink terrorist and a handful of reds. Playing with guns, I say without looking at her, is that your army? We drew blood from the gulls today, Daryl. If you don't respect me, respect that I killed the son of Mars's arch-governor. What have you done that makes you think you can come here and spit on what we've done? You didn't kill him, I say. She looks blankly at me. Don't be ridiculous. I stare back angry. But how the bomb? She says you're lying. I got him out in time. Why? Because my mission is complicated. I need him. Where's Dancer, who is in charge here? Mickey, I am, says another voice from my past. one with an accent like my wife's, except this voice is poisoned and bitter with anger. I turned to see Harmony at the door, half her face still blasted with that terrible scar. The other half is cold and cruel, older than I remember. Harmony, I say mildly, the years have done nothing to warm us to each other. It's good to see you. I need to debrief. There's so much to say I can't even think where to begin. Then I notice the glance she gives Evia. Harmony, where is Dancer? Dancer is dead, Daryl. Later, Harmony sits with me in front of Mickey's desk, in an office of cheap, angular furniture and jars filled with hybrid organs. Floating in preservative gas, Mickey sits behind the desk, fidgeting with that old platonic puzzle cube of his. He sees me looking at it and he wings. He's gotten better. Evia leans against the barrel of chemicals. I sit utterly lost. Dancer had a plan for me. He had a plan for all this. He's not supposed to be dead. He can't be. It was Dancer's last wish for Mickey to carve us a new army, one that will rival the goals and speed and strength. We've taken our greatest men and women and put them to the carving. They cannot survive a gold procedure like the one you enjoyed. But some managed to brave this new program. She waves out the glass, where 100 coffin-like tubes play across the floor. Inside each reds of a new breed. Soon we'll have 100 soldiers who can cut gold deeper than any before, as if 100 would be enough to fight the gold war machine. My Harlows and I could likely shred any unit these terrorists put together. And we're not even the deadliest golds, she gestures, with a new arm, having lost the one of flesh and bone to an obsidian. When raiding an armory for weapons, it's a limb of metal now fluid and strong, with illegal black market sockets for weaponry. Good workmanship, but nothing compared with Mickey's carving. Of course you'd never let him work on her, so Mickey is a prisoner, I ask. Slave more like Mickey grunts with a small smile. They don't even give me wine. Shut up, Mickey, Evia snaps. Evia. Harmony fixes the young woman with a tolerant stare. Before regarding Mickey, remember what we talked about. Hey, mind your tongue. Mickey flinches, eyes darting down to a left hand. There's an empty holster on her belt. Something Mickey is scared of. Harmony is behaving for me. You're afraid he's going to say how you beat him. She shrugs, dismissing my judgment. Mickey sold girls and boys can't enslave a slaver. Far as I see it, he's bloody. Damn lucky not to have a bullet in his brain. Could hire a carver to give him horns and wings and a tail, so he'd look like the monster he is. But I haven't, have I, Mickey? No, Domina. The word makes me recoil and disgust. Dancer always respected him. I say I respect him despite all his eccentricities. He bought people, sold them. If you says we've all sinned, I say especially you now. Told you he'd be bloody damn holier than thou, acting like he doesn't compromise his morality day in, day out. Finding excuses for wicked bastards like our Mickey here. Harmony smirks to Evie, sharing a private joke. That sort of attitude is all fine up there, Daryl, but you learn we don't compromise here anymore. That's the past. Then Dancer is truly dead. Dancer was a good man. She's silent for too short a moment for it to count as respectful. But good man tends to die first. Half a year back he hired a gray mercenary team to hit a communications hub so we could steal data. I said we should kill them. Once the job was done, Dancer said, what was it again? We aren't devils. But after the gray captain collected his pay, he pissed off to the local society, police headquarters, and offered them Dancer's location. Bloody damn, Lurcher squad. Put Dancer and 200 sons in the dirt into minutes. Never again. If they kill one of us, we kill 100 of them. And we don't trust grays, we don't pay violets. They've lived off our toy for ages, we only trust reds. Evia shifts uncomfortably. There was another red at the Institute. I say after a moment, Titus, was it one of yours? I glance toward Mickey. Don't look at me, Mickey says. How did you know Titus was the red? Harmony asks quickly, did he tell you? He let it slip, small mannerisms. No one else noticed. Then you found each other, she asks, not smiling but sighing. Free a weight she's long carried. He was a good lad, I'm sure you became friends. He never discovered me, did you carve him, Mickey? With Harmony's blessing, he answers, no darling. You were my first, my only. He winks, I consulted on his carving. But an associate of mine did his procedure. Based on the successes you and I pioneered. Dancer found you, Harmony says. I found Titus, though his name was airless, when we pulled him from Phoebus' mines. He didn't care about keeping it. It's fitting that Harmony would find Titus. Birds of a feather. What happened to him, she asks. We know he died. What happened to him? I let a gold put them in the bloody ground. I look stonily at the three of them, thankful. They cannot read my thoughts. They know nothing. I can barely conceive of what they must think of me. They've such small perspectives, and what I've done, and what I have become. I thought there was a plan, a long, large reason for all my toil. But there was nothing. I know that now. Even Dancer was just waiting to see what happened. Hoping. I expected to be welcomed back with open arms. I expected an army waiting, a grand plan for Ares to take off his infamous helm and dazzle me with his brilliance and prove all my faith warranted hell. All I wanted was to find them again, so I would not feel alone, but I feel more alone than ever, sitting here in a concrete room with these three pale people on rickety plastic chairs. A gold named Cassius Albulona killed him. I say, was it a good death? By now you should know there's no such thing. Cassius, the same one you have a blood feud with. Is that why? Evia asks eagerly. Is that why the banana wanna kill you? I run a hand through my hair. No, I killed Cassius's brother. It's one of the reasons they hate me. Blood for blood, Evia mamas. Like she knows what the hell she's talking about. We hit them hard today, Daryl. 12 blasts across Luna and Mars. Dancer and Titus have been avenged. Harmony says, and we'll hit them harder in the days to come. This cell is just one of many. She waves her hand at the desk. And scenes rise as the hollow display comes to life. Violet news anchors drone on about the carnage. Am I supposed to be impressed? I ask. You're as bad as them, you know that. Yes, never mind the strategy of it. Never mind you're taunting a sleeping dragon. Evia herself killed over 100 low colors just hours ago. There weren't reds, Harmony says, and then adds in an amazingly insincere afterthought. Or pinks, yes there were. Then their sacrifice will be remembered. Harmony says solemnly. Vox Clemento sin deserto makes claim. Mickey sits quiet, but he allows himself a small smile, trying to impress us. With your gold, fancy talk, Harmony asks. He feels like a voice crying out in the desert. Shouting all in vain, Mickey exclaims. It's simple Latin, so you know what's what, Harmony says. Become a gold and suddenly have all the answers. Wasn't that the point of me becoming a gold? So we could see how they think. No, it was to position you to strike at their jugular. She balls her fist and strikes the palm of a metal hand, in emphasis, don't act like. You were born better than I remember. I know what you are inside. Just a scared boy who tried to kill himself when he was too weak to save his wife from hanging. I said, speechless. Harmony is just trying to help, Eva says softly. I know it must be hard, Daryl. You spent years with them. But we have to hurt them, see? That's all they understand, pain. Pain is how they control us, she continues slowly. The first day I served a gold was the greatest pleasure I felt in all my life. I can't explain it to you. It was like meeting God. Now I know that it wasn't pleasure I felt, it was the absence of pain. That's how they train pinks to live a life of slavery. Dara, they raise us in the gardens with implants in our bodies that fill our lives with pain. They call the device Cupid's kiss, the burn along the spine, the ache, and the head. It never stops, not even when you close your eyes, not even when you cry. It only stops when you obey. They take the kiss away eventually when we're 12, but you can't know what it's like. The fear that it'll come back. Dara, Evia plays with her nails. Gold needs to feel pain. They need to fear it, and they need to learn. They may not hurt us without consequences. That's what harmony means, and I thought the golds were broken. We're all just wounded souls, stumbling about in the dark, desperately trying to stitch ourselves together, hoping to fill the holes they ripped in us. Io kept me from this, and without her, I'd be like them, lost. It's not about hurting them, Evia. I say it's about beating them. Io taught me that. Dancer 2, we're swinging at the apples, when we should be digging at the roots. What will bombing them do? What will assassination accomplish? We need to undermine their society as a whole, erode their way of life, not this. You've lost sight of your own mission. Daryl, Harmony says. You say that to me. I ask, how could you possibly understand what I've seen? Exactly what you've seen. Dine with the masters and forget the slaves. You can afford to live a life of theories. What about what I've seen? We're down in the shit, we're dying. And what are you doing philosophizing? Living the plush life, betting pinks. I had to listen as Dancer died. I had to hear the bloody, damn screams rattle over the comies as the lurchers came to kill. And I could do nothing to save them. If you would live through that, you would know fire can only be fought with fire. I know where these words lead. They gave me a hole in my gut, put me weeping in the mud. Cassius standing over me. That is how this will end. You may have lost all your love, Harmony. I'm sorry for that, but my family is still in a mine. They will not suffer because you are angry. My wife's dream was about a better world, not a bloodier one. I stand now. I want to talk to Ares. Asylums lies heavy upon the room. Give us a moment. Harmony looks at Mickey and Evia. She watches Mickey. You stand reluctantly. He pauses as if to say something to me, but feeling Harmony's eyes on him thinks better of it. Good luck, my darling, he says simply, patting my shoulder. Let me stay, Evia says, drawing close to Harmony. I can help with him. Harmony touches her hip. Ares wouldn't allow us, after what I did today. Don't you trust me? I'm not like the rest. I trust you as much as any red. But this is something I can't share with you. She kisses Evia softly on the lips. Go. Evia pauses at the door, looking back at me. We're not your enemies, Daro, you have to know that. The door clicks shut behind her, and we're left alone in Mickey's office. Does she know? I ask. Know what? That you sent her on a suicide mission. No, she's not like us. She trusts, and you'd sacrifice her. I'd sacrifice any of us to kill a peerless guard. All we get are worthless pixies and branches. I want the real tyrants. You're using her worse than Mickey ever did. She has a choice. How many motors does she? Enough. How many sips and gestures for me to do the same? Dancer may be dead, but Ares has a plan for you. No. I'm done listening to his plans through others. I've sacrificed 3 years of my life for him. I want to see his face. Impossible. Then I'm done. How can you be done? You're trapped. You bloody well can't go home to like us. Can you? One way out. Buckle tight and stay the course. Her words strike hard. I can't go back. The loneliness and art is inexpressible. Where's my home? Where will I go? Even if this all ends with gold falling to ashes, you won't meet Ares even. I've never seen his face. Helldiver, you haven't. You've worked for him for almost as long as Dancer. Years. How can you of all people trust him? Because he put the first gun in my hand. He wore his helmet and pushed a mark for Scorcher with a full iron clip into my palm. Is there's a man? I ask. Who cares? She pulls up a hollow display. The electrons swirl in the air, coalescing into a series of maps. I recognize the topography: Mars, Venus, Luna. I think dozens of red dots blink through, blueprints of cities, dockyards, and a dozen other vital organs. Bombs. I realize Harmony looks tiredly off the map. This is Ares' plan for 100 bombings. 600 assaults on weapons depots, government facilities, electric companies, communications grids. It is the sum of the sons of Ares, years of planning, years of scraping up resources. I had no idea we could carry out such action. I stare at the map in awe. The bombings today were meant to provoke a response, get them all hot and bothered. We want them mobilizing. If they mobilize, they condense. Easiest to burn pit vipers when they're packed tight. When will this take place? 3 nights from now. 3 nights, I repeat. At the conclusion of the summit. He can't want me to do that. He does. 3 nights from now. The summer finishes up nice with a gala wine pinks. Silks, whatever the hell you gold brows. Do, all the bloody damn governors, all the senators, preachers, emperors, judicials from across the society will be here. A solar system of monsters, brought by the power of the sovereign to one place. It'll be 10 more years before we see this. There's no way for the sons to get in. But you can go where we can't. You can strike the blow that we cannot. I feel the words coming like a train down a tunnel, when they have all gathered nice and tight. Like when the sovereign stands to give her speech. You kill the gold-brown bastard with a radium bomb. We hide on you. Mickey and the crew of Gizmos built the tech. Once we see the bombers designated, fear the data recorder will plant on you. We unleash hell across the system, burn them out. This is the sum of all I've done. There has to be another way. There were always 2 plans. Hell diver this and you. Ares and dancers said you were our hope, a chance at another path. They boasted like boys that you could destroy gold from inside, but you failed like I said you would. You're gonna claim blood is on Evya's hands. Well, it's on yours too. You don't even know the blood I have on my hands. Harmony, I'm not some bloody damn saint. But Evya's attack was a crime. The only crime is if we lose, I shatter. There's more at play here than you understand. We cannot face gold no matter the blow. We strike, they will eradicate us like this. I snap my fingers so you won't do it. No, I won't do it, Harmony. Then the war begins without your help. She says we had 2 sons ready to try to enter the gala. They're not gold, so better hire. They'll get caught and cut to ribbons in a Praetorian torture cell. Before completing their mission, means the leaders of gold will live on. And our tiny chances of winning the shitstorm shrink, because you don't trust Ares slag. This Eric should have told me this himself, if he wanted my help. How? He's on Mars preparing the revolution. There's no way to communicate. They monitor everything. How could he contact you without exposing your cover? She leans forward, lower teeth exposed thoroughly. Tell me, Daryl, do you even know how much they've stolen from you? It's something in her tongue. What do you mean? Here's what I mean. She jams a series of orders into the hollow cube, and an image appears of Likio's mines. My blood goes cold, the recording of EO's death. The one we pirated and broadcast. My heart thuds in my throat, it wasn't complete. She presses play, and the room around us becomes the mine. We're a part of the 3-dimensional horror. It's the raw footage, not the stuff on the newsreels. Not the stuff I've seen 100 times. It shows the hanging without a soundtrack. I hear my own cries of pain as the Greys beat the boy I used to be. Weeping in the crowd, the awkward silence of unedited footage. My mother hangs her head, and Uncle Nero spits in the dust. Kieran, my brother, covers his children's eyes. Feet shuffle. Diodio's sister stumbles up the metal scaffold. Shoes scraping of a rust, sobbing. Then Dio leans toward my wife. EO stands small, so pale and thin. Little more than the smoke of the burning girl. I remember. Her lips move again, I don't hear it. Just as I didn't hear it that day. Suddenly Dio sobs uncontrollably and clings to her. What was said? Use the equipment, that's what it's there for. Hey, I've wondered at it 1,000 times. But never had access to this footage. I never knew how I'd find it without raising suspicion. And the thought scared me as it scares me now. What was I not strong enough to hear? What could Dio bear that I could not? In the news footage that was pirated, they don't even show deer, but here with the raw footage, I can rewind, I do so, I can amplify the sound. I do so, I watch it happen again, my mother hangs her head. Narrow spits Kieran covers the children's eyes. Feet shuffle, Dio goes up the scaffold, all the sound is magnified. I sort out the white noise with the controls. And I hear what my wife said to Dio. In our bedroom there's a crib I made. Hide it. Before Daryl returns, a crib. Do your mama's. He must never know it would break him. Don't say it, Io, don't. I am with child. Chapter 10. Broken. I break. Sitting in a void, staring at my hands. The hands that could not save my wife, my child. She was right. I wasn't strong enough to bear the truth of her second sacrifice. Io could have lived. Io could have given us the child we always wanted. But she thought that future wasn't worth her silence. I wasn't worth it. I feel something deep in my chest, a hollow cold ache. Like blackness has opened in the pit of my soul. Even as my body tightens and coils around grief. I weigh 1,000,000 pounds, shoulders slump, chest compressors. My fingers clutch together, funny to think. These hands have been with me this whole time. They touched her lips, they helped pull her ankles. They buried her in the soil. But they didn't just bury her, did they? No. They buried another life, one unborn. Our child dead before it lived, and I never even knew. I mourned without knowing the greatest injustice. I failed them both. The amplified video replays again. I am with child, she tells Dio on the scaffold. I am with child, I replayed a dozen times, feeling myself shrink into a corridor of grief. The girls didn't just kill her, they killed what I've always wanted to be. A husband and a father, if only I'd stopped her, if only I'd not pouted like a child. When we lost the Laurel, she wouldn't have thought to take me to the garden. If only I had the strength to pretend. Losing the Laurel didn't bother me, all the family I could have had. A wife, sons, daughters, grandchildren, they've been slaughtered before they ever were. Io will never hold our daughter, she will never kiss our son to sleep. And smile over me as his little hands clutch my finger. I'm all that's left of that family, that could have been. A dark shadow of the man I was meant to be. The rage rises, we had a chance and it's gone. Everything I wanted is gone because of me. And because of them, their laws, their injustice, their cruelty. They made a woman choose death for her and her unborn child. Over a life of slavery, all that for power. All that so they can keep their perfect little world. You are not strong enough then. Harmony says, are you strong enough now, hell diver? I look at her, tears blurring my sight. Her hard eyes soften for me. I had children once. Radiation ate their insides, and they didn't even give them the pain meds. Didn't even fix the leak, said there weren't enough resources. My husband just sat there and watched them die. In the end, the same thing took him. He was a good man, but good man died to free them. To protect them, we must be savages. So give me evil, give me darkness, make me the bloody damn devil. If we can bring even the faintest ray of light, I stand and wrap my arms around her. As I'm reminded of the true horrors our kind face. Had I really forgotten? I am a child of hell. And I've spent too long in their heaven. Whatever Ares wants, I'll do it. Pliny sent the bitch. The jackal hisses as the Ella. Physicians slowly remove the burned skin from his arm, and Ripley knew. Growth cultures, it wasn't the sons of Ares, they wouldn't kill that many. Low colors, it's against profile. Pliny probably, or the sovereign's Praetorians using cover. The lights of passing ships glow through the glass. He curses and shouts at his servants to black out the windows. Gray's brought me here, to his private skyscraper instead of the Citadel. As I requested, the place crawls with mercenaries. He prefers Grays to obsidians, except, apparently that's stained and the only other gold. which shows the extent of the jackal's trust. His name would certainly bring enough hangers-on to fill a city, but is comfortable in his isolation like me. Could it have been Victor? I ask. She didn't stay. She's already proven her loyalty. She wouldn't use a bomb, and she's in love with you. It wasn't her. In love with me? I asked, startled. You're blind as a blue. He snorts, but says no more about it. Our alliance must remain a secret until we're off this damn moon. Which means you were not in that tavern. If Pliny knew the extent of our plans, he would have been more thorough. I believe he was only targeting me. So you will return to the Citadel, pretend as if nothing has happened. I will continue my plan with the Syndicate Lords, then purchase your contract at the end of the summit, at which point their world will change. I turn to leave him, but his voice arrests me at the door. You saved my life. Only one other person has ever done that. Thank you, Darrow. Tell your new skin to grow faster. You won't want to miss the closing gala. The next 3 days passing a haze, my mind on EO and what we lost. I cannot find escape from the grief. It plagues me even as I work myself to death. In the estate's gymnasium, I do not indulge in small talk. I pull back from my friends. None of this matters, not to me. Life fades in the presence of pain, Theodora notices, and tries her best to relieve my doorness, even suggesting I distract myself with roses from the Citadel's garden. Better Eudominus than some rough man from the gas giants, she says. News of the bombings sweeps through the Citadel. Dominating the news, the society plays it well, broadcasting their aid relief, sending out instructions on how to handle a potential crisis. Yellow psychologists analyze Ares on screen, conclude that a latent sexual trauma in his youth makes him lash out to seize control of his world again. Violet actors and entertainers raise money for those families who have lost loved ones. Quicksilver himself volunteers 3% of his personal fortune to relief efforts. Obsidian and Grey Commandos attack asteroid bases where Sons of Ares train. Grey anti-terrorist agents hold press conferences, saying they have apprehended those responsible. Likely some Reds they pulled out of a mine, our lunar slums. It's a farce, and the Golds play it so well, they hide from the cameras and make this seem a fight of all the colors against Red terrorists. This is not Gold's fight, it belongs to all of society. Moreover, society is winning because our sacrifice and obedience allow the righteous to prosper. Bloody damn horseshit, yet still blame must be placed, so the arch-governor is pulled away to face inquiries regarding his handling of the situation. How have the suns spread from Mars to Luna? They will ask. The gold hornet's nest has been stirred, as I said it would be, but still the gala continues. I watch the Golds play their games of intrigue, diplomacy, spiriting off to galas and conferences and summits. Untouched by the dirty games with terrorists, they are protected, shielded from horror. It would bother me, but they are shadows to me now, as though they've already fallen into some distant memory. I touch the bomb on my chest and regret. It is of Mickey's make, a copy of the Pegasus I wore at the Institute, which contained EO's hair and now lies secreted away. With my other personal effect, all I need do is twist its head and it becomes the bomb. The ring they gave me will activate it. I draw away from friends from Victor. She's asked Rogue what's wrong with me. I know he will answer that I'm like the wind, a creature of angry and moods or something like that. He draws closer to me, visiting my rooms when I've gone to bed, attempting to spar with me in the gymnasium, but I cannot smile with him or listen to his soft voice, read poems or discuss philosophy or even share jokes. I can't let myself feel for him, because I know he will soon be dead. I try to kill him in my heart before I kill him in the flesh. Can I add him to the list of those I've already sent to the grave? I finally find my answer the night of the gala on. Theodora brings me my pressed clothing from the laundry. She doesn't say anything that reminds me of Rogue, doesn't offer pity wisdom. Instead, she does something I've never seen from her. She makes a mistake while setting my uniform down on a chair. She knocks over a glass of wine. On a nearby table, the wine splashes over the sleeve of my white uniform. What flashes through her eyes chills me, terror, the sort of deer might have. When staring at an oncoming air car, she streams out apologies. As though I would hit her if she did not, it takes her a moment to compose herself. For the flash of panic to dissipate, when it does, she sits there on the floor, dabbing at the uniform in silence. I don't know what to do. I stand there awkwardly for a moment, before putting a hand on her shoulder to tell her all's well. That's when she begins to cry. In great heaving sobs that rack her small shoulders, she flinches from my touch and composes herself, telling me I'll have to wear black instead of white. She may not know what is about to happen, but she can feel it in me in the air. While the other Lancers play with one another, take microabrasion baths, and consult with stylists to prepare themselves for the gala. I lace up my thick, military boots with trembling fingers. I've never been good at saving my friends. It seems I always drag them into harm's way. Several, I believe, is still alive only because of the distance between us. Fitchner was always afraid I'd kill. His son said my life's strand was so strong that it frayed all those around it. Now seeing Theodora like that, it reminds me how fragile and complicated we really are. I don't know why she cried. Some past trauma, some sense of what's to come, not knowing. Reminds me of the depth to the people around me. I am speechless cold, but Roke is warm. He would have known what to say. I knock on his door several minutes before. The imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating's entourage, is set to depart the villa. For the gala, there's no answer. I open the door and find my friend sitting on his bed, holding an ancient book gently by its spine. His smooth features ripple into a smile when he sees it. As me, I thought you attacked us, come to beg me to shoot some stems before the gala. He always thinks because I'm reading, I'm not doing anything. There's no greater plague to an introvert than the extroverted, especially that beast. He will run himself into the ground one of these days. I force a chuckle. At least he's sincere about his vices. Have you met his brothers yet? Roke asks. I shake my head. They make Tactus look like a lamb. Gory hell, I swear. I lean against the door's frame. That bad. The brothers' wrath, they are terrible. Terribly rich, terribly talented. And the chief virtue lies in their ability to sin. The prodigies at it. Roke grins conspiratorially. If you believe rumors, and I love rumors. Remind me of Byron and Wilde. Cactus's brothers opened a brothel in Aegeo when they were 14. Classy affair till they started arranging more customized experiences. Then what happened? Ruins daughters. Sons insults. Gules dead heirs. Debt poison. He shrugs. It's the Raff family. What do you expect from those black arts? It's why everyone was so surprised. Tactics had taken up with an iron gold. Like you. He clarifies. You know his brothers mark him for being on your shadow. It's why he's always so sarcastic. He wants to be like you, but he can't. So he resorts to his usual defenses. He frowns. Sometimes I feel like you understand all of us better than we understand ourselves. Then other times it's like you couldn't care less. Rogue tilts his head at me when I say nothing. What is it? Nothing. You're never one for nothing. He sets his book down on his chest and pats the edge of the bed, drawing me into the room. Sit, please. I came because I wanted to apologize. I say very slowly, sitting on the edge of the bed. I've been distant these last months. Particularly these last days. I don't think I was fair to you. Not when you've been my most loyal friend. Well, you and several. But you won't stop sending me strange pictures over the net. More unicorns. I laugh. I think he has a problem. Rogue pats my hand. Thank you, but you're like a hound, apologizing for wagging its tail. You're always distant, Dara. You don't have to apologize for how you are not to me. More distant, perhaps. Perhaps he agrees, allowing it. We all have our own tides inside. They go in, out. He shrugs. Not really ours to control the things. People that orbit us do that. At least more than we'd like to admit. After watching me a moment, he furrows his brow in thought. Is this about Mustang? I know it was hard for you to leave her, no matter what you said at the time. You should seek her out while we're here. I know you miss her, admit it. I don't. Liar, liar. Cheeks of fire. I've told you 100 times we're not talking about her. Fine, fine. Then you're worried, aren't you, about the auction? He pauses, smiling and watching me. You shouldn't. I've settled that matter. I'm going to bid on you broke. You don't have the money. Do you know how badly a pixie would pay to get a peerless with my pedigree and connections in their debt millions? I could even go to Quicksilver if I need. He loans to girls all the time. Point is, I'll have the money even if my parents won't help me. So never you worry, brother. He pokes me with his foot. Outsmarts has to mean something, eh? Thank you, I say, stuttering at the words. Unable to really grasp what he's done and why. It puts his neck out. It endangers him and crosses his parents. No one else has even mentioned the auction to me. They're afraid your bad luck is contagious. You know how it is. He pauses, waiting, because he knows me so well. There's something else, isn't there? I shake my head. Do you? My words fail me. Do you ever feel lost? The question hangs between us, intimate, awkward only on my end. He doesn't scarf as Tactus or Fitchner would, or scratch his balls like Severa, or chuckle like Cassius might have, or purr as Victor would. I'm not sure what Mustang might have done, but Roke, despite his color and all the things that make him different, slowly slides a marker into the book and sets it on the nightstand beside the four-poster, taking his time and allowing an answer to evolve between us. Movements thoughtful and organic, like dancers were before he died. There's a stillness in him, vast and majestic. The same stillness I remember in my father. Quinn once told me a story. He waits for me to moan, a grievance at the mention of a story. And when I don't, his tone sinks into deeper gravity. Once in the days of old Earth, there were two pigeons who are greatly in love. In those days they raised such animals to carry messages across great distances. These two were born in the same cage, raised by the same man, and sold on the same day to different men. On the eve of a great war, the pigeons suffered apart from each other, each incomplete without their lover. Far and wide their masters took them, and the pigeons feared they would never again find each other, for they began to see how vast the world was, and how terrible the things in it. For months and months, they carried messages for their masters, flying over battle lines through the air, over men who killed one another for land. When the war ended, the pigeons were set free by their masters, but neither knew where to go, neither knew what to do, so each flew home. And there they found each other again, as they were always destined to return home and find, instead of the past, their future. He folds his hands gently, a teacher arriving at his point. So do I feel lost, always, when Leah died at the Institute. His lips slip gently downward. I was in a dark woods, blind and lost as Dante before Virgil. But Quinn helped me, her voice calling me out of misery. She became my home. As she puts it, home isn't where you're from. It's where you find light when all grows dark. He grasps the top of my hand. Find your home, Daryl. It may not be in the past, but find it and you'll never be lost again. I've always thought of Lycos as my home, of Io as my home. Perhaps that's where I'm going now, to see her, to die and find home again in the Vale with my wife. But if that's true, why am I not full? Why does the hollowness grow inside me? The closer I draw to her, it's time to go, I say. Rising from the bed as sure as I am, your friend Rook begins to rise as well. You will recover from this. We are not our station in life. We are us, the sum of what we've done, what we want to do, and the people who we keep close. You're my dearest friend, arrow mine that no matter what transpires, I will protect you as surely as you would protect me, if ever I needed it. I surprise him by clasping his hand and holding it for a moment. You're a good man, Roke, far too good for your color. Thank you. He squints at me as I release his hand, and he straightens the wrinkles in his uniform. But whatever do you mean by that? I think we could have been brothers. I say we're this a different life. Why do we need another life? Then he sees the automatic syringe in my left hand. His hands are too slow to stop me, but his eyes are quick enough to widen and trusting fear like a loyal dog's. As he's put slowly to sleep in its master's lap, he doesn't understand, but he knows there's a reason. Yet still comes the fear, the betrayal. That breaks my heart into 1,000 pieces. The syringe pierces Rogue's neck, and he sinks slowly down onto the bed, eyes drifting closed. When he wakes, everyone he has worked with and for over these past 2 years will be dead. He will remember what I did to him after he said I was his closest friend. He will know that I knew what was going to happen at the gala, and even if I don't die tonight, even if they do not discover I was the bomber by other merits, saving Rogue's life means I will be found out. There's no going back. Chapter 11. Read. Tonight I killed 1,000 of humanity's great, yet I walk with them now, untouched by decadence and condescension, as never before. Kleiny's arrogance raises none of my blood. Victor's immodest dress does not disconcert me, not even when she slips her arm in mine. After Cactus offers her his, she whispers in my ear how silly she is for forgetting her undergarments. I laugh like it's a merry joke, trying to mask the coldness that's taken me over. This is static. I suppose Darrow deserves some constellation before he leaves. Tactor says with a sigh, "Have you seen Roke, my Goodman? Said he was feeling ill. That's very Roke of him. Likely coiled around a book. I should fetch him. If he wanted to come, he would come." I say I want him to come. Cactus replies. He shrugs at the other Lancers, who jockey for position close to our master. "If you need him so badly, go fetch him," I say tactically. He flinches. "I need no one on my arm. But if I didn't know you better, I'd think you're still bitter about the whole escape pod affair." "You mean when you launched it without him?" Victor asks. Why would that ever bother him? Even now the betrayal stings me. I thought he was dead. It was simple calculation. He bumps my shoulder with his fist and nods to Victor. "You understand, had to watch out for the lady here. She is a delicate little flower," I say, pulling her away. "Woe for the lone god of the sea." Cactus hums melodically his friends. Like mine abandoned he. Victor adjusts the gold cauldron on her shoulder, which winds its way down her arm in a series of golden cuffs, and that darling boy is so vain. He could make a thunderstorm be about him. She notices my lack of care. The bidding won't begin till after the gala. She nods to a landing air car. Well, I was wondering when he'd show. The jackal exits the car, skin faintly pink only and patches. His yellows did him well. He bows faintly to his father, ignoring the mammals of the aides. "Father," he says, "I thought it fitting if the family, the Imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating, arrived at the gala with at least one of your children. We must present to united front. After all, Audriers, the Imperious Augustus, ever watchful and calculating eyes, has sung for something to criticize. I wasn't aware you enjoyed the banquets these days. I'm not sure the fare will beat your liking." The jackal laughs theatrically. "Perhaps that's why my invitation was not delivered. Or was it the for all over the terrorist attacks? No matter, I'm here now and ever eager to attend your side." The jackal falls and smiling broadly to all, knowing his father will never escalate family quarrels. In public, he offers me a particularly sinister snare, one others see and shrink away from.